for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Oh, 1 week from today, the crow will have sounded up at Grand Park. James Boyd, you and I will be there for report day for Colts training camp. So that awaits. Chris Ballard will meet the media a week from today. Usually we get a player or two on report day, so very much looking forward to that. On this Tuesday, we will hit some Colts conversation as we inch closer to life up in Westfield. A lot to get to on the hardwood. The Fever, they get ESPN tonight. I don't know if ESPN thought at the start of the year that Fever Connecticut Sun would draw a lot of eyes. Fever are a significant favorite, but we saw fireworks last time these two teams played, so we'll see if that happens tonight. But let's start here. Mark Dykton was already a no. James Boyd, I'm afraid you might be as well. Your home run derby viewing was what?
It was okay. I thought that the kids,
So you did watch?
At least bits and pieces. I mean, I'll admit I didn't watch the entire thing. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge baseball guy. But
Mark Dykton said he didn't watch a pitch.
Not one pitch.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I actually am a little surprised you didn't.
No.
Why, Mark? Not to get too into the personal happenings of the Dykton household, but I guess I am.
We went out to the Hendricks County Fair last night, so we were doing that, and then just kind of took it easy.
Were you there till 10:30?
Well, no, we did some yard work, got home, went to the bowling alley.
He was mowing his lawn at 9:30 p.m.
The girls have this new affinity to go bowling. We brought them bowling last week, and they wanted to do it again, so we did it. So did some bowling, did some
Pete Weber's in your family.
county fair, and then we did some dinner. And watch some pro wrestling. So that's what we did last night.
I'm just picturing
Boy, that is
Addison
a Monday
saying,
right now.
who do you think you are? I am.
Mm-hmm.
So state or county fair, bowling, and pro wrestling.
My middle daughter is talking a lot of trash, too, on only her second time bowling because they all have the bumpers on. And so she'll get like a strike because she's getting, obviously, a lot of assistance. And she looked at me, and without hesitation, she said, I need you to do a little better. And I said, excuse me?
I like it.
That's
I like
my
it.
type of kid right
need
there.
that
Excuse me? Like,
We
you
need
put those
that edge.
bumpers down. Let's see what's
Oh,
actually
my
going
goodness.
down here.
That's hilarious.
Speaking of bumpers, last night we saw the big dumper get it done in the home run derby. This might be the kid in me. And we get in these debates. I saw Jake had a poll last night, what event has, lost its luster, or however you want to describe it. I still think it's really cool watching a bunch of dudes hit home runs. And I thought it was really cool watching, the other MLB players, in particular, react to O'Neal Cruz. He had the massive first round last night, the former Indian, current Pittsburgh Pirate. And I just thought, it's Monday, July 14th. I mean, unless you're the Dykton family and you're, putting on your best Southern Indiana impression there on a Monday. I enjoyed it. And Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, gets it done last night. Every time I heard Carl Ravitch say that nickname, I felt like I was watching Little Giants, the movie. Doesn't that sound like a Little Giants nickname of the big offensive lineman for them?
Definitely a nickname for a kid's sports
Turn on your mic.
Definitely a kid's sports movie nickname where you're like, dumper.
Hey, where's
that's
Big Dumper? We
yeah.
need somebody to snap the ball, right?
Mhm.
How do you feel about the kid? Is it stealing the home run?
Yeah, Robin,
does it count?
I love it. They end up counting it,
I know
right?
they counted it, but I mean, does it count for him?
Those
that you
dudes in the
stole it?
outfield, who are they? Are they high school baseball players? Are they? Because they were pretty impressive catching the ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, he didn't look like a little kid. He looked like a young man, rather, to me. But nevertheless, still an impressive catch.
I always think those kids are they're a little older now, but back in the day, I was like, those kids are going to get smoked by a ball.
Yeah, they used to be, I
one
feel like, a lot smaller.
Yeah, they were impressive last night. They had a couple line drive catches. I was like, damn. The other thing that I was struck by, so Cal Raleigh, for those unfamiliar, first catcher ever to win home run derby.
Which was surprising to me.
Second Mariner, Ken Griffey Jr., who was front and center last night. The other Mariner, he switch hit last night. I love the sentimental of his dad's, throwing BP to him and his little brother's catching and all of that. That kind of tugged at the old heartstrings a little bit. But the switch hitting element, when's the last time you guys have tried to hit a baseball and or a wiffle ball?
Oh, it's been years for me. I'm terrible at it. I actually just watched a clip. Was it Steven Jackson on his podcast? He had Mookie Betts on there. This was a while back, but he was saying the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball, and I 1,000% agree. If you have no training at all, you will not do well at it at all. Like, you have no chance.
Mark, have you dabbled in any baseball,
yes,
wiffle ball lately?
I've done it more recently because Addison is into, like, she wants to do softball. So we've got, like, the wiffle balls
Sure.
out and all that. So she wants to field a little bit too. So it's like, okay, get back there. And it's not too bad.
So we had a wiffle ball game at the family reunion I was at last week. So,
that sounds fun.
big kids against little kids.
Yeah.
And little kids are, they are thick in the little league world. So they are loving it. So we batted right-handed, or I think we all were right-handed, the handful of adults that played. In the first inning, we, got a significant lead. So we decided for the rest of the innings, we would then switch it up. We would bat left-handed. I don't know if I've attempted an athletic feat in my life that I felt more uncomfortable than trying to hit a ball left-handed. And, I like to think my hand-eye coordination is somewhat decent. Guys, it was a miracle if I made contact. And there's Cal Raleigh last night in the first inning, or first round, I guess, hitting home runs over a major league fence in front of thousands of people, right-handed and left-handed. And I get that, switch hitting is maybe not that foreign to Major League Baseball. But when I see it happen and when you see somebody do it within an at-bat, it just blew me away watching them do that.
That's hilarious. So I do have to ask, did the kids come back a little bit?
Yeah, they did. We actually started to make some contact left-handed, but I think they beat us 15-13 maybe.
Oh, you can't let the kids beat you at the family reunion, man.
Yeah,
Go back to the regular rules then.
I'm about to say your days are numbered already because they're kids.
We had a lot of half-ass and running the bases.
Fair enough.
We look like teams trying to bring up the ball against the Pacers late in games. Last night, quite the highlight over in Summer League. We'll get to that here for the Pacers.
Oh, yes, it was.
In just a few minutes. Again, we will count down our Colts that have the most pressure on them this season. I always enjoy this activity. Yesterday, we kind of looked at the most indispensable guys you can't afford to lose, but with Report Day, 1 week from today, we will hit on that. Again, the Fever on our airwaves and on Big ESPN. Tonight, that is 8 o'clock. Again, it's a back-to-back. Connecticut Sun, who is awful tonight. And then tomorrow, they get the Liberty, which I know that's a matchup that has been really entertaining so far this season when the Fever and Liberty have matched up. So they will play tomorrow in the Barclays Center. But the shot heard, or the dunk heard down under from Johnny Furphy last night in Vegas, James Boyd. I don't know if there's ever been a Summer League highlight that got me to have an audible scream, but Mr. Furphy provided that last night.
Oh, yes. I think when I saw that, I was like, the Pacers are going back to the finals. That's what I was
Take
thinking.
that, Miles Turner.
Yes, honestly, that was amazing. He slingshot the ball because he threw it back behind his head so far and just dunked all over that poor soul on the Bulls. And the photo afterward.
Oh, the photo is insane.
Lord have mercy.
So that dude was 6'8", 6'9". That wasn't, and he wasn't like he was trying to challenge Johnny Furphy. Was. Two things I was struck by on the Furphy dunk. One, and he has kind of shown this, and honestly, I probably did this hand raised. I probably did the white guy stereotype. I'm like, oh yeah, Johnny Furphy. I remember him at Kansas. He'll stand in the corner and shoot threes. And it's like, wait a minute. No, he is very willing to want to do other stuff and drive the basketball, honestly being near the top of that list. I was amazed that as he kind of did the little dribbling circuit to kind of get through the pressure, I just assumed he'd throw it back out and reset it. And next thing you know, he's trying to pull off this dunk where, James, you just alluded to it. When he cocks it back, that ball is at a 90-degree angle to the hoop. And yet he still is able to have the authority to execute the dunk there. Tom Crean, I think, came out of his shoes on the call of that one. So shout out Johnny Furphy. Pacers lost last night, and I have no idea. He didn't. No, he did not. I don't know. Furphy's just kind of one of these guys that, he makes some scrappy plays. Again, he isn't afraid to drive. I liked when they interviewed him in game, and he talked about how much he enjoys getting downhill. And I think I said it yesterday. Could he be in the Jarris Walker role this past year? Assuming Walker kind of steps up to maybe the Benedict Mathurin role as more of a lead guy with that second unit. Do we see Furphy as that, 8th, 9th guy on a rather consistent basis for you? And, again, if you look at the Pacers last season this time, they said they had Furphy, top 15 on the draft board, and they got him at pick 30-something or 40-something.
Yeah, I honestly thought that he put a lot of those stereotypes to bed. And I went through this throughout the playoffs, too, with T.J. McConnell. Very different players, him and Johnny Furphy, of course, but like TJ McConnell can really hoop. It isn't necessarily this, in my mind, like, oh, he's sneaky athletic, he's sneaky good, he's this, he's that. I'm like, no, he can actually play basketball very well. Just flat out. He can hoop. And I think Johnny Furphy is a flat out athlete. So people say, like, oh, he's a sneaky athlete. I'm like, what's sneaky about what you've seen from him? Maybe you didn't see enough of it at Kansas to convince you, but my goodness, the dude can jump out of the gym. He has great length, and obviously he had one of the best Summer League dunks you'll probably see. Probably really one of the best dunks you'll see all season, period. And so that got me out of my seat in my apartment. And honestly, like I said, first thing I thought was build a statue, hang the banner. Pacers are going back to the finals.
The boy wonder from down under. I like that, Lord Smoke, in the YouTube chat from Johnny Furphy there.
I do enjoy that. But yeah, in all seriousness, though, those are the traits that make me think, oh, wow, you could be a rotation level player in the NBA.
Well, it's interesting. Jarris Walker falls under the same boat for me, James. When
good point.
When he was drafted, the thought was defense would be his calling card.
Yep.
When Johnny Furphy was drafted, the thought was shooting would be his calling card. I would say, and obviously Walker's had more snippets at the big-time level, they have impressed me in other ways. Like Walker, I'm kind of waiting for the defense maybe to be at the level that you were hoping for. Whereas it's like, oh, wow, he can really shoot it, and he's got some offensive skill to him, and he's got some touch. And, like, there's a little bit more of a well-rounded nature to his game. And, again, Furphy, we're very early in the whole crowning, but there's a little bit more there to work with than I think I originally thought. Honestly, I get some vibes. It's not the exact same player, but I guess I'm going with the white dude from Kansas. Christian Brown, who has turned out to be a very nice player for the Denver Nuggets. Yeah. He is much more of a driver, attacker, that type of guy. Furphy's got a little bit of that to the game. And again, assuming the jump shot is there for him, I know he hasn't shot it great in Vegas so far. I shot it a little better yesterday. There could be something to work with. Added 20 pounds of muscle, and we'll see what happens. Pacers lose to the Bulls. Cam Jones probably had his best game so far. Did have 6 turnovers, but probably his best game so far in Vegas. So one more left for the Pacers coming up on Thursday. Anything you care about with the Fever tonight? They are a massive favorite. I want to say it's like 15.5.
One more note on Johnny Furphy. You gave your comparison. He looked like Grant Hill to me. So
Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway.
On that play, are you telling me it wasn't Tracy McGrady-esque in his prime? So that was a fun play. Now pivoting to the Fever, and I guess getting a bit more serious. I think I believe the last time these teams played, was that the dust-up?
That was the dust-up.
Yeah.
Now, Marina Mabry is out. She, unfortunately, is dealing with a knee injury. She was heavily involved.
Oh, she's ducking the smoke, as they say. No, I'm joking.
In the dust-up. But J.C. Shelton is in the lineup. She's the one that had the initial poke on Caitlin Clark, just to rehash all of this. And then Mabry had the shove, and then Sophie Cunningham had the tackle. I would just call it an open field tackle.
Yes.
Frankly, a little bit later in that game. So the Sun are terrible. They've won 3 games all season. The Fever are favored by 15.5. Honestly, the only thing on the court I care about is, does Caitlin Clark find her shooting stroke a little bit?
Yeah, but I do think, is there a bit of bad blood still there? And if there is, will the officiating sort of handle it? I thought the last time they played, not to harp too much on like the drama of the game, but it was too physical to the point where you saw some of the extracurricular stuff because players felt like the game hadn't been controlled or officiated very well. I mean, that was a game where Stephanie White afterwards went off on the officials.
Yeah, that is a great point.
The Connecticut Sun coach and their players did the same exact thing. So to me, keep the game under control and make sure that that is not something that is the main topic of conversation coming out of it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't say this often in pro sports, but like when you're a 15.5-point favorite and you're playing a back-to-back against a very legit team, that could be something of like, hey, can you get a big lead to rest some of those players in the fourth quarter? Because the Liberty tomorrow night, the much better team, they are not going to be on a back-to-back.
Yeah, so. I will say, last quick thing, 3 wins this year for the Sun, and one of them was against the Fever. Now this was without Caitlin Clark, but nevertheless, they have won a game against the Fever, so the Fever cannot continue to drop games, obviously, against a team that is this poor. If you want to position yourself very well going into the All-Star break and position yourself very well coming out of it and getting ready for the playoffs.
When we get to mid-July, I always like to have some focus a little bit even more locally, and we'll do that here coming up 8 o'clock. I think I mentioned it yesterday on the show last week couple weeks back now. At this point, we were able to catch up with Tyrone Tracy Jr., who had a very nice rookie season with the New York Giants, a Decatur Central product. Started his college career at Iowa, then to Purdue. He's got a great story, and one that I was not totally familiar with until we chatted with him. So we'll play that coming up here at 8 o'clock. A little bit later in the week, we'll continue to kind of focus on a local angle, along with, of course, hitting the Pacers, hitting the Colts, and hitting the Fever as well. So good Tuesday morning to you. Thank you for spending it with us. This is the Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton.
On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I sound like a fourth grader in elementary school saying something I shouldn't, but they kept on saying it on the broadcast last night. The Big Dumper won the home run derby. His real name on the birth certificate, I guess maybe it's not Cal, but Cal Raleigh, the first catcher in Major League Baseball history to win the home run derby, 18-15 in the final. He actually got there via a first-round tiebreaker. Came down to an inch. The longer home run between him and Brett Rooker, and it was Raleigh 470.6 feet that got him to advance to the semis. He beat O'Neal Cruz in that, and then won in the championship. Dad pitching, younger brother, the size of his younger brother, 15, 16 years old. I'm like, damn, this dude's going to be, is he the little dumper? I was curious what they call him, but I might be in the minority, guys, but I still enjoy watching dudes hit home runs really far. And so I enjoyed the home run viewing last night.
So if you were in the home run derby, both you guys, who's throwing you the ball?
Oh, I would definitely have my
pitches?
Pops.
Pops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Southpaw up there on the mound. I mean, honestly, I got vibes last night. Like, man, this is like pitch and catch in the backyard. I thought it was really cool. And we occasionally get that. I feel like of the 8 contestants each year, we usually get like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Dad, brother, or something like that.
You don't think Dad's going to throw some heat at you at some point?
He hit him. Did you see he hit him?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't watch. But
I did see that clip, though.
He hit him, I think, in the first round, which is great. He kind of leaned into it, Cal Raleigh. I'm like, this is awesome.
He rushed the mound.
The other guy I was really impressed by was the ESPN on-field announcer that would ask the questions in English and Spanish and then deliver the answers for us in both languages.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by people who can speak fluently multiple
They have to
languages.
make
Like, how
great
does your
money,
brain
right?
work? Do you think in Spanish as well? Like that was me. Me in Spanish class was horrible. I couldn't get the thinking in the different
It
language
was like
down.
when the Pacers were in Paris this past year and Pascal Siakam and Benedict Mathurin were answering questions in multiple languages.
Yeah, that happened to the NBA Finals in the scrum, and I'm like, oh, I would lean so much into that if I were someone who spoke a different language. I'm like, you guys are not going to get any good stuff out of this. I'm going to just speak in French the entire time and get all the exclusive information.
All-Star game tonight from Atlanta. We don't do home field anymore. Is that right?
No, thank God.
Are you good with that?
Yep.
Why? Any reason why you're
I just
anti?
thought it was pointless to put that much home field advantage for the World Series in a meaningless All-Star game.
Well, that's what made it not meaningless.
But that my point was
I think I'm with James Boyd on this.
why would you you can't have every representative from every team on there. If it's supposed to be truly an All-Star game and has that amount of stakes, what does the Colorado Rockies bring to the table?
Yeah.
Don't we,
Jack Diddley.
Don't we ask for more things to play for in the NBA All-Star game? Aren't we complaining about that?
That's a lost cause at this point.
Tonight,
Also fair.
Speaking of the NBA, Summer League yesterday out in Vegas, Pacers lose to the Bulls, but Johnny Furphy's dunk from down under was clearly the highlight there. Cam Jones, the rookie from Marquette, 18 points, 6 assists. Did have 6 turnovers, probably his best game. So one more for the Pacers out in Vegas. That comes up on Thursday against the New York Knicks.
I still don't understand the Bulls guy that got dunked on. What's exactly going on in that picture? Looks like he's getting possessed.
Yeah, I think that's their rookie, Noah Essengay. So welcome to the league, brother.
I respect him challenging, but boy, he got baptized to say the least.
Yeah, they called him Johnny Furphy, that is, John the Baptist in the YouTube comments. So
Ooh, I like that.
shout out
That
to
is
Mark
very
Allen
good.
in the YouTube comments.
That is very, very good. 8 o'clock tonight, the Fever back in action. They will be in NBA arenas each of the next 2 nights. It's TD Garden where the Celtics play tonight against the Connecticut Sun. Tomorrow it's the Liberty in the Barclays Center. James, for those that don't keep track of the WNBA, basically you have a awful team tonight and a very good team tomorrow as the Fever opponents.
Definitely so, but as we've seen, the Fever have kind of played up or down to the competition throughout the season. Now, I will say they lost to the Sun without Caitlin Clark, and as you alluded to earlier, Kevin, as much as you want to get them to stack some wins heading into the All-Star break, you want to see Caitlin Clark shoot the ball better. That's the one thing I think that we haven't seen from her since she's returned from this second injury, which was the groin.
No one on the injury report for the Fever. The Sun are 3-18 on the year. They are losing these games by an average of 15 points per game. And that's the line for tonight, 15.5, the Fever. Favored 2 more until All-Star Weekend, and all eyes shift here to Indianapolis. Speaking of Indianapolis, how about the Colts that have the most pressure on them in this 2025 season? It is report day 1 week from today at Grand Park. We will hit on that coming up on the other side. Fan Morning Show, thanks for starting this Tuesday morning with us. Tuesday morning with us.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Very fitting for Mark Dykton right there. Indeed, the Colts have the most pressure on them in this 2025 season. We'll get to that list here in just a minute. I don't know if you guys saw the announcement yesterday, but we know the Olympics are going to have flag football in it coming up here in 2028 out in L.A. They have announced the schedule for that because I think there is some curiosity of like, okay, what will the NFL participation level, I guess, look like in the Olympics? Those dates would be July 15th, so today, through the 22nd, which, James Boyd, July 22nd is actually report day for the Colts. It's a little earlier than usual for the Colts because they play a Thursday night preseason game to kick off their preseason slate. So if you look at that, flag football in the Olympics, July 15th to the 22nd, I mean, NFL dudes could easily participate in that and really not miss any, maybe a little bit of training camp. And to be honest with you, I think teams will be fine with it. I mean, the Colts just had a throwing session out in California with their players. Like, I mean, 7-on-7 is basically what Colts players are training and doing right now. So I don't think you'll get a lot of like, no, you can't play or anything like that. Schedule-wise, it makes sense. I think you'll see a whole lot of participation from NFL players.
I know a lot of them would love to compete. I believe it might have been Justin Jefferson was saying he dreamed of winning a gold medal, and this will be an opportunity to do so. However, I think it also, which is the case with every scenario, once one player pulls a hamstring or something like that, everyone's going to lose their mind.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but, you know, when Chris Ballard meets the media a week from today at Report Day, every year, James, he says, player here got hurt training.
I know.
Anthony Costanzo, remember, had the big hamstring pull, and that nagged him a whole lot. So I understand what you're saying, and optically, it will look like that.
And I wonder if that would affect players' willingness to do it, teams' willingness to let them do it, or encourage them to do it, whatever word you want to use. That's my only thing, because you know how it goes. It's because the argument will be, well, one guy was training, getting ready for the season. This guy was doing something unnecessary. So how patriotic do you want to be?
Gosh, I hate that you made a good point. But I just think optically.
Yeah. I do think it's cool, though. I would love to see it for sure. And I was thinking about this. Dream player you would have in flag football, like all time. I would love to see personally prime Randy Moss in flag football. Are you kidding me? That guy would be incredible in a flag football game.
Can quarterbacks run?
Yeah. At least, well, I'll say
Do you have to do
this.
the Mississippi rule?
Yeah, I have to look at the actual like FIBA rules, but
because Lamar Jackson would be quite the prime Michael Vick.
Yeah,
I'm hearing the "Run, Mike Vick, run" highlight.
Yeah, because from when I imagine the rules are similar, but when I referee very low level intramural flag football, you had to run as a quarterback, but you had to wait a certain time. You couldn't just take off running every single play. There was like, I don't know if there was like a 7-8 second rule, something like that, but it was a referee that would keep a clock, and then you would be allowed to run after a certain amount of time. And often you needed a guy that could wiggle because you can't really block in flag football. It's a non-contact sport. So you would see these guys, you had to block with no hands, and so you would have to like shuffle your shoulders and things like that, and you can't block anybody like that.
No.
So you need a guy that can wiggle.
To Waka Flocka with no hands.
Exactly.
Look at that reference, Kevin.
I do like
that. Was
that
well
reference.
done by you.
Coming up at 8 o'clock, Tyrone Tracy Jr., great rookie year with the Giants. Honestly, had a great game against the Colts late in the season. Really fun story. Honestly, a pretty inspiring story he shared with us. We had him in studio a few weeks back. Unfortunately, couldn't get him on live, but wanted to play this at some point here in the summer. So we'll play that coming up at 8 o'clock. James, I think it's obvious when we list out who has the most pressure on them for the Colts in 2025. Anthony Richardson easily tops the list. Now, I guess before we go any further, this is a player list. Because if we really want to get technical,
oh, man, yeah.
The GM and arguably the head coach would be 1 and 2 on the list.
Yes.
But
yes,
for the sake of this exercise, we went with player. One thing I will just point out on Richardson before we get into other names on this list, again, he's number 1 for each of us. A big reason why I unquestionably had him number 1 on the list. He obviously has different levels of things he has to prove. But this is the first time the Colts will have a season where a financial decision awaits with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
So after the end of this year, the Colts will have to make a decision. He's under contract for 2026.
Right.
Obviously
already.
under contract for this year.
Yep.
It's a 4-year rookie deal with a 5th-year team option. The 4th year is 2026. The 5th-year team option is for 2027. You must make a decision on that by next offseason, though.
Yeah.
And that is a huge jump in pay. We don't know exactly the dollar figure just yet. But, for example, Kenny Pickett, who was a quarterback taken in round 1 in the prior draft to Richardson, that team option, which the Browns declined here recently, that would have been $22 million. And you're talking about a guy in Kenny Pickett that had been making like $2 or $3 million up until that point. So for Richardson, he's making more because he was the 4th overall pick, but that would be a huge jump in pay. So again, I know that might seem like a topic that needs no discussion right now, and it probably doesn't, but that is something just to reiterate too with Anthony Richardson is not only is there pressure on him that's obvious, but there is a financial decision that the organization must act upon here coming up this upcoming offseason.
Yeah, that's why I think this season is more or less a make or break campaign. And that's not to say that he's going to be off the team after this year if he doesn't perform well, but in my mind, it will mark the unofficial end of the Anthony Richardson era if he just comes out and doesn't play well and you don't really have a clear inkling or a clear willingness to want to extend him or want to keep him around. And so from that point on, I think it would, you'd have to entertain, trade scenarios, things of that nature, because he wouldn't be your quarterback of the future anymore. I mean, is he your quarterback of the future right now is a question. So if it's one more year of us still asking the same things and it's, can you stay healthy? Can you be accurate? Are you mature enough? That gets old after year 3 very fast.
All right, number 2 on the list, James. The Colts with the most pressure on them for this season. You went where?
I stayed in the quarterback room. Daniel Jones. And I know people here might feel like, well, we're apathetic towards Daniel Jones if he plays well, if he doesn't. I think he is under an extreme amount of pressure because you came here to resurrect your career. They paid you a handsome salary, and I was listening to ESPN yesterday before people turn off our airwaves. I was not listening to all the crazy shows. I think it was NFL Live with Stephen Holder, by the way, was on there.
I did see that.
Looked pretty good. I told him he was underdressed. I had to throw my little jab.
I thought he looked good. Summer casual.
He looked great, but clearly it must have been last minute because he's never like that. He's a very nice dresser, by the way.
He recovered from the monsoon at Disney World?
Yes, he did. He did. But in that segment, when he was breaking down and Stephen was offering his opinion on the quarterback battle, one of the things Adam Schefter pointed out, which I was, kind of surprised by, Daniel Jones got paid more money to be the Colts quarterback this year than Aaron Rodgers got to be the quarterback of the Steelers this year. And the one in Pittsburgh is the unquestioned starter. So to me, that was a bit fascinating, and it kind of just lets you know the amount of financial investment they've made into Daniel Jones. And also, this is it for him, I think. If you have a career resurrection, then, hey, maybe you can get paid and go somewhere else and be a starter again. If you flame out, that's it, brother. You'll probably be a career backup after that.
Yeah, I had Jones on the list. He was 4th on my list, so I totally agree that he deserves a spot on the list. Yeah, at this point, he's played for 3 teams. You have to prove that you're one of 32. And doing that in a 4th location, probably unlikely.
Yeah.
But he gets a golden opportunity here. And, yeah, I mean, Adam Schefter was very adamant yesterday that there were a lot of suitors. If I'm not mistaken, I think Minnesota actually offered more money than Indianapolis to bring him back, which in that situation, I believe he would have been the backup, right, to J.J. McCarthy. If that – my thought process is right with how the Vikings are kind of operating things as McCarthy comes back from that injury. So, yes, to me, Daniel Jones deserves to be on the list. And this kind of gets into the exercise we had yesterday of most indispensable, the guys the Colts can't afford to lose. To me, 1 was pretty obvious. I could probably debate 2 through 5 pretty closely here. My number 2, I went with Charvarius Ward.
Ooh, not on my list, by the way. I like this, though.
When you think about pressure, or you think about things he needs to prove, he signed the biggest free agent contract we have seen for the Colts. And if you look at his own individual play, and again, there were some awful off-the-field things with, unfortunately, his daughter, his very young daughter, that I think impacted his play last season. But he would also tell you that like his play in 2024 was not at the level that he wants it to be. So when you add up his own individual mindset plus the amount of money that the Colts are handing him to be an number one unquestioned outside corner, potentially in a shadow role some weeks of another team's opposing wideout, I went with him number 2 on the list.
I do like that. And I'll piggyback off of that and say, and also clarify for those who might be wondering, his young daughter unfortunately passed away I believe October or last year in the fall. And so he had to deal with a lot of mental health.
He left the 49ers
issues
for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and he's been very candid about that and the trauma that he's felt, just even being in California. And along those lines, you can tell how much he's loved by that former franchise over there in San Francisco, because all of them, whether I was at owners' meetings, whether you hear other players talk about him on their own podcast or, throughout that season, they love that dude and they have a lot of respect for that guy. So he went through a lot last year, but he also told us, in a very cornerbacky way, I'm back and I'm ready to prove that I am this all-pro guy. So
he
I'm
will
excited
talk
about it.
Yeah,
he will, for sure.
He'll definitely talk. I'm going to guess number 3 on the list might be the same.
Ooh, okay. We'll see where your head's at. Mine, number 3, most pressure, and a lot of it has to do with what position you play too. I have Latu. I have Latu because I think that he needs to make a jump and he needs to be a dude. We need to be able to look up a year from now and say they got a guy who wrecks games, who affects the quarterback, who is going to be someone that the rest of the AFC South has to scout and make sure they keep an eye on. Otherwise, he's going to ruin your Sunday or ruin your Monday, whatever day you're playing on. So I think that he is someone who has to deliver, and partly because of his hair. When you have hair like that, last time I saw him, he had the cheetah print hair.
What color? I was going to say, could you describe the color of that hair?
It was like I don't know if it's jaguar print or a cheetah print or whatever it was, but it was very spotty. It was like blonde with the dark spots.
If you're at the zoo, you got to be in the plains area.
Yeah,
to
it was like
see
cheetah
that sort of
print
pattern.
or something like that. So when you got crazy hair like that, you got to defend like Dennis Rodman did when he had crazy hair. You got to be able to wreck games.
Very well said. Latu as well, number 3. Only other things I would add is this, James. You drafted him with the thought that he'd be more ready-made than others.
Yeah.
He was uber productive at UCLA for 2 years. This is not hey, you're drafting the dude from Penn State that barely has any sacks, but have you seen the combine numbers?
Right.
Same thing with, even a little bit of Dallas Turner last year from Alabama. No. The thought was with Latu, this is a dude that produced at a very high level in the Pac-12, and you wouldn't have a whole lot of growing pains. And I thought he had a decent rookie year until he hit the wall.
Yeah.
Final 5 games, he was hardly even noticed on the field. And you could say this about any defensive player. Ward, though, doesn't fall into this category because the team signed Ward under Lou Anarumo. But, I have another defensive player on this list, James. For any of these guys, you now have a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So there's pressure there in that guy didn't choose you. That guy was not a part of the decision-making process. So you have to prove yourself to Lou Anarumo. And if he's going to be here for a couple of years, that aspect is in there as well. By the way, going back to our Olympic debate earlier, Chase with the email here. All fun and games until Justin Jefferson gets locked up by some 5'8" corner from Sweden.
There's no way on God's green earth that would ever happen. I'm so sorry.
How many times have you said that before of like Team USA in basketball, and all of a sudden like Japan has some like 5'11" guard that's going off against the US?
I take back what I just said because, Chase, you might be onto something, brother. When people get in international play, their confidence is incredible. I went back and watched the Serbia-USA game because I think it's one of the best basketball games ever. And
like Evan
the way
Fournier
they play
looks like the greatest guard in the history of FIBA basketball.
It was unbelievable. I was legitimately nervous. So you know what, Chase? You might be onto something.
There's no way that many other countries can be good at flag football, right?
Yeah, that's the only pushback I would have in all seriousness is that basketball is a global game, obviously, but
Is flag football global?
I don't know if it's global to the degree of basketball where, like, you have, just some countries, in all seriousness, don't even have, like, the equipment and fields and stuff to even do these types of things. Who is it? Cam Bynum, lives in the Philippines.
Right.
He had a video, I believe, on his YouTube page where he was unboxing what he believed to be the first jugged machine in the Philippines. And so keeping all that in mind, I find it hard to believe, but man, you get that country behind you, and if you're playing in a different, setting, maybe being in LA will help the U.S., but man, oh Lord. Now Chase has got my head spinning.
Losing sleep seeing China across from us in the flag football quarterfinals here coming up in 2028. All right, fourth on the list. I said I had Daniel Jones. So far for you, you've gone Richardson, Daniel Jones, and Latu.
Yes.
Fourth on your list would be who?
A.D. Mitchell.
Ooh.
I'm putting A.D. Mitchell up there. And you know why I did this? So, Kevin, you were out there with us throughout the spring. What happened after every single play that A.D. Mitchell had or made? What did he do?
Did he talk?
He talked, and he chirped, and he celebrated. And you would think that this guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer with the way that he was chirping and acting. He
was making plays, to be fair.
Yes. And that's my thing. We have seen this now, and I won't say for 2 full years, but for the better part of a year and some change, we've seen this dude go off in training camp, go off in practice. We've heard people tell us that he's, coming along. He's got all the tools, and he talks the talk. You got to walk the walk. And part of that, to me, when it comes to the pressure, has to do with the wide receiver situation because, as we talked about last week, Mark, we're talking about contract years. Who would you pay? Who would you wouldn't? And who could walk? I'm not so sure that the Colts will pay Alec Pierce. And part of me thinks that they drafted A.D. Mitchell, one, because they weren't so sure about Alec Pierce early on until he had the breakout season last year. But two, if we already paid Michael Pittman Jr., in theory, we're probably not going to pay Alec Pierce and then pay Josh Downs in 3 straight years. So ideally, we would need somebody to take over Alec Pierce's spot if he walks, and it would be A.D. Mitchell. And you got to show him something this year. And, I might be getting ahead of myself with the contract talk, but you were a second-round pick, and you also told us when you got drafted, I got to wear the number 10 because, 10 dudes drafted ahead of me, and I'm better than these guys. I can't tell so far. So I need you to be – and to be clear, I love the personality. I love the flair. I love the cockiness, arrogance, whatever you want to call it, because I think wide receivers need that in this league. But you got to deliver and give us something on Sundays.
Yeah, he was in the others I considered category. We can get into that here after we get through the 5. The final 5th I had on my list, so again, so far for me, it was Richardson, Travarius Ward, Latu, Daniel Jones. 5th, I had Kwity Paye. Now, if you look at my list, James, I've got 4 first-round picks on this list. He's reached the end of the rookie contract. The Colts picked up the team option on Kwity Paye, back a couple off seasons ago. I would say so far, he's been a nice player, but consistent pressure to me is still lacking, especially at the first-round level, especially at the level of how the money rises in the 5th year of a team option for a pass rusher, what that second contract could look like. And again, like I said with Latu a few minutes ago, the arrival of Lou Anarumo, you've got to prove yourself to this defensive coordinator. And I'm not saying like Dayo Odengbo, all of a sudden Anarumo flipped on the film and was like, that guy's not any good. But there is a level of, hey, we didn't draft you. Right now, JT Tuimoloau was drafted by Lou Anarumo as a second rounder. Kwity Paye was not. So I went with Kwity Paye to round out my top 5 most pressure Colts here in 2025.
All right, so I think my number 5 will surprise some people. Number 5 on my list, I wish I had a drum roll, is Zaire Franklin. And
is this because he talks?
It's for 2 reasons. It's 1, because he talks so much trash, but 2, you're entering a new system. You're the only linebacker on the team that has any experience really of starting and playing a lot of snaps. And you're supposedly the team captain, or one of the team captains. You've been a team captain for, I believe, 4 or 5 years now. He has to show, 1, that his play can translate to Lou Anarumo's system. And 2, you have to show that you can be a better leader, to be quite honest with you. And I think that's a lot of pressure in that. I think last year he showed a lot of immature moments. And I think there is a tinge of that still might be there. And I might be nitpicking here, but here's what he had to say last week on Twitter. And he was talking about, hey, I got my education from Syracuse, and education is such a big thing. I was like, you know what?
Sounds like one of those broadcasts.
Right
people.
on,
Sounds
brother.
like Anthony Calhoun talking about Syracuse.
Yeah. And then he followed that tweet up and said, I probably picked up your favorite running back and slammed him on his neck. Probably threatened your favorite wide receiver's life, and he didn't do anything back. But at the same time, I got my finance degree from a top 50 university, and I graduated a semester early. And it's like threatening people's lives. Like you're talking like you're like the boogeyman. And your best seasons in your career, you know, when you have made all these records and broke all these records, what have the Colts actually won? When he became the guy in that room, and, you know, Shaquille Leonard got phased out, he took over full time, set the, you know, franchise record for tackles in the season. But what have they won? Nothing. You've delivered nothing. I mean, you've earned a Pro Bowl nod and you were second team All-Pro, but what have you actually done to affect winning? We have not seen it. And so I think that he's under an extreme amount of pressure to, one, be quiet in times that probably require it. And then number two, you know, play well.
Well, or if you are going to talk, just back it up.
Yeah, 1,000%. You know, he and that's the thing. Someone called him out and was like, "Hey, dude, you know, just focus on the season. You called out the Giants last year, you got smacked." And he's like, "Well, I call it the Titans too. The Titans who got the number 1 pick last year. I mean, that's nothing to brag about, brother."
Yeah.
So
no, I think it's a lot of true words, frankly, about number 44. All right, upcoming on the other side, and we'll still get to maybe some other guys we considered for that top 5 list, but that was a fun exercise. Coming up next, Tyrone Tracy Jr. We caught up with the Giants running back / pass catcher, I think is definitely fair to put out there. Great story. Decatur Central product, Iowa, Purdue. At one point, he thought about, honestly, quitting the game of football. Did not know kind of the full background on that story. He shared that with us. We'll play that upcoming here. It is Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton on a Tuesday.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, welcome back. Fan Morning Show, and currently in studio, I would say one of the more impressive rookie seasons we saw in the NFL this past season. And I don't know, he might have some bragging rights on some of his high school buddies for what he did to the hometown team in the second to last game of the season. He is Tyrone Tracy Jr. in studio, running back for the New York Giants with us. Tyrone, first off, thank you, man. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me. It's a blessing just to be back home, so I appreciate y'all having me out.
Are there little bragging rights with
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I know a couple dudes on the Colts that, that's from Indy, so it definitely is a little bragging rights. I get to hit him over the head with it, when I see him. But, yeah, it was a great feeling to play the Colts, man. You look up to them guys. You walk, obviously, you got Lucas Oil Stadium right downtown, so I drive past it all the time. But, when I see him on the field, I was like, yeah, I gotta go crazy this game.
Individually, what were those rookie expectations? Again, we thought you had a really nice rookie season. You certainly were a key component to what the Giants were doing offensively. Individually, do you feel like you checked a lot of goals that you wanted to as a rookie?
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of people ask me this question, and I really didn't have like a lot of them goals on my checklist. But to be honest, it was really just to make the team and become a component of the offense. Like whether it's pass catching, whether it's running, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm a third down back, whatever it may be. I just wanted to be a valuable asset to the offense. So a lot of them things that I was doing out there, the 100-yard games, I got 1,000 yards, all these different things and accomplishments that I had during the season wasn't really on my list. I just wanted to make the team and, show the team that they drafted someone that they can use.
So looking at your career, started off in college, you played a lot of college football, had a lot of college seasons.
Yeah.
And I think people can look at your career now and say, oh, he had this great rookie season. This was always going to happen. People rooting for you and things like that. But for you personally, what kept you going? Maybe you didn't know how it was going to work out.
To be honest, my mom, she just kept pushing me. I was actually about to quit football in 2022. Just because things wasn't working out, and I'm a big believer in God. And so my faith kind of took over. My mom just kept saying that everything's for a reason. And one of my favorite verses is John 13:7. And it states that you may not know what I'm doing, but you will soon understand. And I just kind of kept pushing day by day, week after week, month after month. And then things just kind of turned over for me, I guess you can say, once I got to Purdue, that second year, that first year was still the same, but that second year, it kind of just turned over. And when I became a running back, it was very easy to transition and allowing myself just to, play football and have fun.
That is wild. So you thought about quitting. This would have been leaving Iowa, coming to Purdue, or even that first year at Purdue, you said was
so both years, really.
Yeah.
Because my last year in Iowa wasn't the best. I wasn't really in the game mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And football is, 75% mental, 25% physical, because everybody out there is strong, fast, athletic. So you just have to have the upper hand mentally, and it wasn't there for me. So I was really thinking about quitting just because I'm like, man, if I got a different purpose out here in the world, why am I wasting it, playing football? And I wasn't having fun with it at the same time. And then when I went to transfer to Purdue, it was the same outcome. So at this point, I'm really thinking yeah, okay, this is just, clarification that I'm not doing what I need to be doing, out here in the world. But then my mom just told me just to keep pushing and, take it day by day and understand that, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive story. Tyrone Tracy Jr. in studio here. You might hear some family in the background as well. And he is off to training camp, second year, coming up with the New York Giants here in a few weeks. The hardest aspect in transition to the NFL was what for you?
That's a great question. I would say time management. Time management. There's no more, coaches telling you to go work out or, telling you how to take care of your body or, obviously you have the resources there, but it's up to you to take advantage of it. They'll tell you, we have, sauna, we have cold tub, we have, all these other things that you can do, but it's up to you on how you use it and to use your time wisely because you don't have homework, you don't have, study hall. So really after practice, you're done for the day. So I think time management was a big thing for me. And then really I kind of hit on already, but recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long season. It's no longer, 12 games.
Right,
you
right,
playing 18 games and plus the postseason. And So it's a long season. So you get halfway and you like, oh my gosh. Like I'm ready to call it, because it got to the point where like I'm not physically ready for the game. Just because you get done playing, you hurt until Wednesday, and then you got Thursday, Friday to actually prepare for the game, and then Sunday comes, you got to play another game again. So it was just very taxing once it got to, week 14, week 15, and you look up and you still got 3 more games left. So it was definitely challenging, but this year I'm trying to make sure that my preparation and my recovery is definitely like top tier.
So from my understanding, you haven't played running back at least full time all that long.
Yeah.
So can you take us through this transition while you were in college from wide receiver to running back, and who convinced you to kind of go for it? And when did you have that conviction in yourself to be like, all right, this is going to be my position, I'm going to rock out at?
It really wasn't that hard, to be honest, just because I played running back, little league, all the way up until like high school. Then that's when I converted to receiver. But so when I converted back to running back, some of the natural habits that I already had kind of just kicked in. And, it was kind of instinct, I guess you can say. Like I always had that instinct and knack for running back. Because if you watch my film as a receiver, once I got the ball, I just turned into a running back. It wasn't like I'm moving as a receiver with the ball. No, I was just doing running back stuff, but just down the field,
Right.
So it wasn't like a big difference when you go from, receiver to running back. And then the transition happened at Purdue. It was Coach Walt, he was the head coach that came in. And Coach C, he was a running back coach at Miami of Ohio, which my brother played there. And when he came here, it was the first thing he said was like, "You gonna be my running back?" And I was, a little bit iffy because I didn't know if they wanted me to transition because they wanted somebody else at receiver, or did they actually see me at running back?
Yeah.
And the struggles that I had at Iowa kind of carried over because I really can't trust coaches because, when I had them tough conversations with them, it wasn't, honest. They wasn't honest with me. So it was tough for me to trust them, but the only person that made me trust the position was Coach C. And when I did that, I kind of just told him, like, yo, like, if I do this, I'm going to give you my all. I ain't about to, do this, half-assed. I'm going to make sure that I'm giving everything I got because this is my last season. So all I told him, I said, bro, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you everything I got, but all I ask from you is just to give me everything you got. And that's really how it happened.
So then my follow-up to that is when you got to the NFL, and I love to ask players this, what was your welcome to the league moment as a running back?
I knew you was going to say
on
that.
both sides. When you were like, okay, I'm here now. I can do this. On the other side, like,
this is tough.
Man, they got some dudes hitting.
Yeah. So I was actually, I forget what I was on, but I was telling this story about it's crazy because both sides of the stories are the same game.
Okay.
So the hit was Monday night going against the Steelers. Everyone watching the game. So it's a primetime game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy environment, and Cam Hayward, Hall of Famer, he's obviously sitting in the middle. He's a nose guard. So he is, two-gapping, making it seem like, one of my lanes is open, and then he's shutting it off. So it was inside zone. I'm taking it, and when I say he hit me so hard, bro, oh, my God. Mind you, he's like 300-plus pounds.
Yeah.
So, like, and me personally, when I see something, I'm just going to take it. I'm not, like, sitting there tap dancing and just trying to see if it's going. No, I'm hitting it, and I'm going to try to get through the lane. But he hit me so hard to where like I'm falling backwards, and like all his weight went onto my head, and I just I had to sit there for a moment, bro. It was tough. But the same game though, like I went off for like 125, 140, something like that, a tud. Like it was I think it was third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, but they just scored, and one of my teammates came up to me. He was like, why not you? Why can't you, be Superman, put your cape on, come say today? And we was down like 2 scores. And literally the next drive, we did a nice pass to Malik. We get on the 45, and we do an inside zone. I hit the hole, make the dude jump a gap, hit it for 45-yard touchdown. And then I get to the end, and I do like, the Superman, I'm here, the Cam Newton, like I'm here. And that was like one of them like moments like, okay, I could definitely do this at a high level. Cause like, I was locked in, like I said, I went for like 140, something like that in the TUD. So I was definitely like locked in that game.
You too honest. I would have buried the other. Nah, I can take all them hits.
Right.
Nah, it was definitely hard. That was tough. Like I could take a lot of hits. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
that was one of the ones that I had to lay there for a minute, man, and just collect myself.
It's a great story. Tyrone Tracy Jr. in studio with us here again, Decatur Central product, and had a really nice rookie season with the New York Giants. Curious, we did see a Pacers-Knicks series here. You can talk about bragging rights. Was there anything there during the spring off-season program?
It definitely was. 'Cause like, okay, I'm going to let y'all in on something. So, like, in the locker room, they know I'm from Indiana, but obviously I play in New York. So they, like, giving me hell because, like, I'm rooting on the Pacers. And they like, oh, man, y'all ain't going to win. Y'all ain't going to win. So, like, when I say I'm the only person in the locker room rooting for the Pacers during this time, like, this whole series that they had, the Knicks series, all the other series that they had, I'm the only one rooting. And everyone's like, oh, no, they gonna win. So every time the Pacers won, you best believe I'm coming in that locker room. I'm talking trash to every person, the coach, the head coach, everybody. Like, I don't care who you is. The owner said something I would have. Oh, my God. I'm telling you, because, like, but if they lost, I'm coming in and putting my clothes on,
right.
trying to get in and out and not trying to see nobody because, it's going to be a little banter back and forth. So, but it was definitely, like, a good feeling because, like, again, my hometown, you finally get to see him win, and it was good and bad because I was upset because I couldn't be home and, like, celebrate with Indiana, you know what I'm saying? Because I know it was a great time and I know downtown was alive, so I really wanted to be here, and celebrate with, the whole fan base, but, it was still good to be in New York and shove it in their face.
I
will say, after the Tyrese Halliburton shot that went way up to the sky,
it came back down. Yeah.
How crazy were you talking after that one?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was running around my house, man. I ain't gonna lie, I was really running around my house just because, like, that was insane. Like, and it is crazy because I feel like he did it every game or, like, every series. He had something that was going to happen, and, like, everyone was anticipating it too.
Right.
It wasn't like, we might not see. Nah, we was like, okay, well, what is Tyrese going to do today? So it was definitely like one of the moments that I had to call my boy Tay Banks, and I was talking my trash to him because he's one of the loudest voices in the locker room. So yeah, but it was a good time for sure.
A little bit of a Colts connection as we sit here right now. Potentially Daniel Jones could be their starting quarterback. I know your time with him wasn't very long in New York, but just your thoughts on what it was like to play with him for a few months.
Yeah, I actually think that he's a great guy, but he's also a great quarterback. I think that he just needs people. He just needs people, and he needs that the coaching staff behind him that's going to believe in him and put that kind of trust in him. Because he's done it before. He's produced before, but like I said, I think that he needs the coaching staff and the teammates, the front office, like he needs all that, to be behind him and letting him know that everything's gonna be all right. But I think that towards his end of his little time at New York, the trust wasn't there. I don't think the confidence was there. But I think he has all the capability in the world to take a team over and lead them to wins for sure.
Last one before we let you get out of here, Tyrone. You're from Indianapolis, Decatur Central alum. What does this city mean to you, and how did that high school shape you to where you are today? And just if you have a few words for the kids out there listening, dreaming of being where you are, what advice would you give them?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, the city means everything to me, to be honest, because like it's my backbone, bro. I grew up, literally in Hallville, West Side, Indianapolis. Like I remember everything. I remember going to Northwest, Bantam football, playing my cadet league. I remember going over to Riverside Park, watching my brother play, like going to Municipal Garden, like playing basketball there. Like it's insane, what I'm saying, to see how far I've come. And I was actually gonna go to Ben Davis at a high. I mean, when I was gonna go to Ben Davis, but because my mom and dad went. But I wanted to pay my own way. I literally told my mom, like, I wanted to put Decatur on the map after I leave here. And I know I'm sick that we couldn't win. State, they want to win state when I'm not there, but it's all good. But yeah, it was great because when I got there, I obviously got to meet new people, but at the same time, like I got to kind of build my own legacy. And not just me, but, my brothers, we're all in the record books there. My brother, me, my cousin, my younger brother, like, we're all in the record books there. So it's a great feeling to go back, and look on the walls and see that, like, your picture's up there, your name's up there, your brother's name's up there. Like, and these are things that, like, might not be done in a long, long time. So it's a great feeling, just to, say that. And also say that when I was, 10 years old, that I was going to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a great feeling. But at the same time, like, for all the kids out there, I just want to let you guys know that, like, there are definitely going to be hard times. If you ever want to get to the NFL and understand, like, where I'm at, you have to know that there are going to be hard times. Like, there's no easy road. There's no shortcuts. Like, the first thing you need to do is just believe in yourself first, really. Believe in yourself. No matter who tells you can't do it, understand that you can. Secondly, you have to build some type of work ethic. You have to understand that, like, your work ethic will get you to places you want to go. You're only going to get out whatever you put into it. I think a great quote is, you never see anyone with extraordinary things do ordinary work ethic. Again, I'm going to say it again. You have never seen anyone do ordinary things that have extraordinary results. So if you want to be in the NFL, you got to do things that people in the NFL are doing. If you want to be the 1%, you got to do things that the 1% are doing. The last thing I would say is just continue to keep your faith. When things go bad, you got to continue to keep your faith. When things go good, you got to continue to keep your faith. Like, continue to know that, you're there for a reason. You're in that position for a reason. And, God will never lead you astray. He will never put you in a situation to where you can't handle it. But, again, to all the kids out there who want to be where I'm at, man, just understand I was in your shoes at one point, and, I'm here in the NFL. So it's definitely possible. It's definitely, like, a situation, and an opportunity out there for you. You just got to go find it. You got to go get it.
Well, hometown stories are always ones to cheer for.
I was preaching right there. I ain't gonna lie.
Church.
I was preaching right there.
That was,
yes, Lord.
That was Sunday at 9 a.m. right there. Tyrone Tracy Jr. In all seriousness, super inspiring.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
I think hearing, especially about the Iowa and Purdue days, that was not that long ago.
It wasn't.
And for you to be where you are today, hell of a story. Continue it. Good luck this season.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
healthy, and we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you. Thank you guys for having me.
Tyrone Tracy Jr., that was in studio with us a little bit earlier this month. Again, we didn't have a chance to air it live, but James, you and I talked right after the interview, and we said, we were previously going to have him on at 9:45, and that oftentimes can be maybe not the most listened to segment, whereas 8 o'clock, it's a little bit more of a prime slot. And I think you and I were both on the same page that day when we walked out of the studio. We thought, that's got to be an 8 o'clocker at some point. And so we've kind of looked through the schedule here, and, one of our quieter days, we felt like today would be a good day to play that. So awesome story. I thought the Daniel Jones stuff was interesting. Maybe we can hit on that. But more than anything, pretty inspiring from a local dude that had a great rookie season.
Absolutely. You can tell how much the city means to him, how much it shaped him, and how he hasn't forgotten where he's come from. I thought it was very interesting to hear him talk about some of the struggles, because oftentimes when we see players have success, especially early in their NFL careers, it's like, oh, it must have been easy, or it must have always been this linear progression. But for him, he was like, no, it was a lot of ups and downs and kind of just trudging through it all to break through eventually with the Giants.
Yeah, and, he had a good, I think it was a sophomore season in Iowa, but then some injuries around there, and even that first year at Purdue, very little individual success, but had a nice 2023 campaign. And I remember Dane Brugler at the Combine chatting with us and saying, Tyrone Tracy Jr. as a third round or as a day 3 guy is one to watch, and that is definitely held true here. So thank you to him for that. Appreciate some of the nice comments and people reaching out about it. That'll be certainly up on the podcast. Let's go ahead. Mark Dykton hit a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, I said to lead off the show, speaking of the Giants, when you heard the nickname of the player who won the home run derby last night, it sounded like maybe a character in Little Giants. The Big Dumper got it done last night in Atlanta. That would be Cal Raleigh. He actually advanced out of the first round by 1 inch on a tiebreaker to get to the semifinal round, 18-15 in the final. So the man that has certainly been one of the big storylines in Major League Baseball this year gets it done. Switch hitting, his dad throwing to him, his little brother who looked just as big as him behind the plate last night. Cool story, and the first catcher ever to win the home run derby.
I'm not even sure that I can eat right and left-handed with like a fork, and he's out here switch hitting. So shout out to Cal Raleigh.
If you switch hit in home run derby, should it count as more?
Maybe if you're trying to get, I guess, more fan engagement, possibly. But I think the way that he did it is fine.
All-Star game tonight from Atlanta. Who is it? Dude from the Tigers and Paul Skeens. Is that our starting lineup, or is that our starting pitchers tonight? Definitely Skeens. I think it's the dude from the Tigers.
Skubal. Tarek Skubal.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Tonight, 8 o'clock. For that, opposite it tonight will be the Indiana Fever. This will be ESPN for them. They are a huge favorite over the Connecticut Sun. The Sun stink. They are 3-18 on the year. But James Boyd, the last time these two teams faced off, James Johnson was waiting in the alleyway for the Connecticut Sun.
I was going to say, was it James Johnson or Sophie Cunningham, the way she tackled J.C. Sheldon there late in that game? So that is my biggest takeaway from that game, was just the drama and the extracurriculars, and hopefully that stuff is not the narrative after tonight's game, and it's more so, for the Fever's purposes, a win, because they, trying to get some traction going into the All-Star break.
One of the big instigators that night was Marina Mabry. She is out tonight due to a knee injury. Again, the Sun have been terrible. Fever favored by 15.5. In this one, back-to-back, they will take on the Liberty coming up tomorrow night at the Barclays Center. Out in Vegas yesterday, the only thing that's worth mentioning is the dunk of Johnny Furphy, correct?
Yes. Like I said, they were calling him John the Baptist in the first hour of the show in the YouTube chat, and I must agree, because he baptized that poor Bulls player. Lord have mercy.
That was Noah Essengay, by the way, their first-round pick. So
I mean, and that dude's 6'8", 6'9", like trying to definitely block it.
I mean, it was one of the more athletic plays you'll see really on a basketball court. He cocked it back like prime Tracy McGrady or
The
Grant
thing was
Hill or
90
somebody.
degrees.
Yeah.
When he cocked it back, that thing was like almost at his waist. And I couldn't believe either how willing he was to attempt it. Like, it's not like he caught the ball at midcourt and had a couple seconds to think about it. Yeah, this was not like Obi Toppin in the open floor. It was, I'm dribbling kind of through traffic, and next thing you know, bam! I'm like, oh my gosh, dear Lord.
Then he stared him down after, and I'm like, oh man. And I just wonder how trash talk sounds with the Australian accent. Like, does it sound a little bit cooler just because he, went up and dunked on your head top?
Oh, it definitely looked cool. Did not result in a Pacers win. They lose to the Bulls out there in Vegas.
Semantics.
I just shrimped you, Bobby. Is that what he's saying? Like,
sounded like a character from Bluey there. I always like your Nick Saban or your Alabama.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. The Alabama fan?
Impersonation. I didn't think your Australian one was very good there.
oh, okay.
Dang.
Do you have your Alabama one
Let's
ready
hear
to
yours. Let's hear your
Right.
Australian.
No, if you don't got it, you don't present it.
Oh.
Ooh, fair. That's a fair
I'm not Jake
statement.
Query with my old man British accent here.
We're going to talk a little Iron Bowl coming up. Stay
Yep.
right here.
See, there you go.
Are you calling into Fine Bomb next?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's going to be poisoning some trees down there.
All right, on the other side.
Brian Kelly, are really going to stick around in LSU?
What Colts did we consider
What's he doing out there?
that have the most pressure on them this season? And is there a best-case scenario to this Pacers campaign? Upcoming, we will do that and, maybe dive back into that Tyrone Tracy Jr. comment on Daniel Jones. It is the Fan Morning Show here on a Tuesday. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dyson.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Waka Flocka. How did that come up earlier in the show again? No hands?
You brought it up. I forget exactly the context of it. James, do you recall?
I do not recall. I was too busy, doing my no hands.
I was working on my Australian accent, which Kevin hated, apparently.
Gosh, this is a big-time college anthem when I was in college. Thank you to Tyrone Tracy Jr. Again, that'll be up on the podcast. Hell of a story. And really a player the Colts need. I mean, the Colts need a pass-catching running back. And Tyrone Tracy Jr. definitely showed that as a rookie there for the New York Giants. One of the few bright spots for the Giants this past season. So appreciate that. No Daniel Jones comments. I think maybe we'll re-rack some of that here coming up a little bit later and react to it. One thing to note, James, a week from today, we'll be at Grand Park doing our show. We'll be live there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all next week. Tuesday's just report day. Players, Chris Ballard usually meets the media. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, of course, we'll have practice right after our show gets done. Ballard front. I always enjoy hearing position battles that he is watching for. And I do think on an injury note, obviously, where is Anthony Richardson officially at? Will he throw? Will he throw every day? How quickly will he be inserted back into the competition? I think those are obvious storylines. One thing I do want to know, you had Zaire Franklin on your, most pressured Colts. We did the indispensable Colts yesterday. I had him very high on guys you can't afford to lose. There was a thought from the Colts that this injury situation with Franklin could creep into Grand Park. Is that still the case, or is he good to go? So, again, ankle surgery that he had in May. Ideally, you would have that a lot earlier, of course, in the offseason. So he missed all the team practices. Jalen Carlisle, the other starting linebacker, missed all the spring practices. Not ideal when you're installing a new defense. So on the Ballard list for next Tuesday, that is on there for me. Is Franklin going to miss any time into Grand Park, or will he be ready to go right away?
Yeah, I think another player to keep in mind, Samson Ebukam tore his Achilles last year at this time, really right at the beginning of training camp. Is he someone that's a full go as well, knowing that you want to have that depth, as he always preaches, at the defensive end spot? So where is he at in the recovery process? And, other players to keep an eye on as far as position battles go. I think Juju Brents, he's not high on my list of priorities going into camp, but just where is he physically? Where is he in the depth chart? What do you want to see from him? Because he's another guy that's kind of flown under the radar for, I would say, quite honestly, probably the wrong reasons, because he's kind of been forgotten about due to the injuries and the absences and the additions of Travarius Ward and, Justin Wally, and even, Sam Womack being claimed off waivers last year. It's kind of pushed him down the totem pole. How does he feel about trying to regain some of that momentum and hopefully getting back in the mix for his own sake in the quarterback room?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that name up because, we did back in the 7:30 hour.
Second round pick.
Right. And we did our exercise of, again, the Colts that have the most pressure on them this season. We both had Anthony Richardson 1. We both had Latu 3. We both had Daniel Jones on our list. We differed a little bit. Just, you had A.D. Mitchell on. You had Zaire Franklin on. I had Travarius Ward on. I had Kwity Paye on my list. Guys that I also consider. Juju Brents is one of them. Now, individually, you just laid it out. Second round pick. He's been more injured than Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. He would be on that list that I pondered. I definitely thought about A.D. Mitchell as well. And if I could go a step further on Mitchell, you brought up Alec Pierce in that contract situation. We know Pierce is in a contract year. Michael Pittman Jr. is going into year 2 of a 3-year extension. Pittman made it clear when he signed that extension, his thought process in only going to 3 years is he wanted to get to the open market again sooner.
Yep.
So you could make the case that in Pittman's eyes, he's in a contract year. Now, last year he battled through the back.
Yeah.
I almost look at the Mitchell thing more in the, do you feel like you could replace Pittman with him? I think Pierce is a unicorn. I think Pierce's ability to make those home run catches. I get that Mitchell and him were second round picks. So, and I guess Pittman was too, but Pittman was a pretty early second round pick. Maybe that's where the comp comes, but I kind of look at if Mitchell can show you something in year 2, would you move on from Pittman Jr. earlier and re-sign Pierce?
He's got to show me so much.
No.
for me to
I
feel
mean, yes,
comfortable doing
definitely. But
I
guess
see where you're going.
What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I don't look at if Mitchell shows up this year, that means Pierce is gone. I think
Okay.
a lot of people are making that comparison because Pierce is in the contract year. I look at Pierce and say, wait a minute. He's got the one-trick pony, but it's a damn special trick.
Yeah, the
And
reason.
so if Mitchell's able to step up, to me, Mitchell's game could look a little bit more Pittman-like than it could Pierce-like.
Good point. But the reason why I was leaning more towards he could replace Alec Pierce, affectionately known as AP, who, by the way, that bet between him and DeForest Buckner, I think it's still on the table. I think DeForest Buckner has kind of said every year, if he gets 1,000 yards, he'd get him an AP. And I'm like, okay, well, that is a nice gift if you're able to do so, to get a nice, what is it? How do you even pronounce that? Audemars protect, watch. But nevertheless, 80 has the speed that Pittman doesn't have. And that's why I think that he could give you more of like a deep threat ability. I'm just going back to some of the, routes that he ran last year. Man, these were not really crossers. These were, I shook my dude and I am dead open and I need somebody to hit me, or I need to be on the same page as the quarterback. But I don't hate that thought process. It's just that he's got to take a massive step forward for you to feel comfortable, whether you're moving on from either guy or planning your future around this guy. Because
unquestionably,
the talent is there. And I will always agree with you all on that. Like, the talent is there.
Other Colts I thought about for the most pressure list, Braden Smith was the first name that didn't crack my top 5. Contract year, and the reality is
Mark had a guy
on and off the
If
field.
you want to chime in, Mark?
Tanner Bortolini.
Yeah, it's funny. Bortolini, and then I even thought about the kicker,
Mm-hmm.
Spencer
Thought about
Schrader.
kicker as well. Yeah.
And I guess when I formulate the list, there's a little bit of you have to come with some expectations, if that makes sense. Like, I had 4 first-round picks in my first 5 names. So there, and the one I didn't is Travaris Ward, who signed the biggest free agent contract in Colts history.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of you have to have expectations. Yes, Bortolini. Now, Bortolini's in a competition with Danny Pinter, and we can get into position battles maybe later this week. I think that's a pretty one-on-one battle right now. But if you want to talk about individual guys with pressure on them, again, you didn't draft the dude. He's not the highest paid kicker in the league, but shouldn't Spencer Schrader be up there?
Mm-hmm. My reasoning for Bortolini is he's the guy that's going to touch the football as much as the quarterback. And if you have any problems up front, this is the most upheaval you've had on the offensive line. He's supposed to be kind of like the catcher of the football field. He's supposed to know where everyone's assignments are. He's supposed to know where everybody's supposed to be. If there's any struggles up there, that's just going to, snowball big time from the quarterback on down, and that could just cause massive havoc on the offensive front for the Colts. That's why I put Tanner Bortolini. He'd be my number 5 if I were to make a list.
Thought about Jalen Carlies, again, a linebacker that is now all of a sudden going from spot duty to full-time starter. Any other names that we haven't mentioned that you might have thought about, James?
I don't know if this pressure is the right word, but I do wonder about Jonathan Taylor. Like, how many more years do you have, especially after getting the money?
Not yet a contract year for him.
Yeah, but you got the money, and I believe they have an out after this year. So, how does his future look with the franchise going forward, and does that matter how well you perform in trying to keep you around? Because as we know, or at least I would think we'd like to know, I like to view the guaranteed money. When does that stop? Because that's the real end of your contract in the NFL. I mean, this isn't the NBA where guys get all their money, and you got Damian Lillard who can't play for a full year, and he's going to get all this money no matter what. That is not the case in the NFL. And so that's why I think a lot of players, especially in Pittman's case and others, they want to re-up because they know after, I think for Pittman, is after this season, you don't have to necessarily pay me anymore. So those are some things to keep an eye on going forward.
1 week from right now, we'll be at Grand Park. Colts will be in the midst of reporting to training camp. Chris Bauer to meet the media a little bit later on that Tuesday, and then again practices Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then late Saturday afternoon. Mark Dykton, you said 4-pack of tickets we have to give away to the State Fair.
Yeah, 4-pack of tickets. Anybody who wants to go, plenty of great food out there, entertainments, plenty of stuff to do.
I'm going to go here. we don't need fast fingers. We need someone that can answer a question. Honestly, the nickname sounds like a nickname you might have in the Animal Barn at the State Fair.
Yeah.
What was the nickname of the Home Run Derby winner last night? 317-239-1070. The nickname of the Home Run Derby winner sounds like a pig from Attica.
Yeah. Or a cow from Lebanon.
Sure. You can go there as well. 317-239-1070. 4-packet tickets to the State Fair. What did Johnny Furphy do yesterday? We'll chat about it next. It is the Fan Morning Show.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
$8:48 on a Tuesday morning. Thank you for spending it with us. Hopefully Mother Nature cooperates the rest of this week because we got a lot of activities around WNBA All-Star Week. Tomorrow we'll have Joey Graziano from the Pacers. Does an outstanding job there. Came over from the NBA. He was like the spearheader of the bubble. We had him in studio actually, I guess, 2 years ago now to talk about the NBA All-Star Game that was here. So he'll join us coming up in studio tomorrow to talk about activities around the WNBA All-Star Game. One thing to keep in mind, James, with that, again, Fever back-to-back tonight on the road, Connecticut, TD Garden in Boston tomorrow night, Barclays Center against the Liberty. A big part of this weekend, which fans won't be a part of, but is huge for the future of the league, CBA negotiations. That is a big, big deal right now in the WNBA. Sabrina Ionescu, the president, I believe, of the Players Association, she kind of called out Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and like, hey, don't think for 1 second we're going to be settling for any deal. And when you think about it, this is the most leverage. This arguably will be the most leverage they ever have as a Players Association. And so how do those negotiations go? Again, behind closed doors, but it is a monumental time for that league. That will be a big storyline here. And a lot of deal making theoretically could get done here in Indy.
It could or it couldn't. I wouldn't hold my breath on it, mainly because
I guess talks will happen.
Yeah, a lot of talks will certainly happen over the next few days. And honestly, that's like the underbelly of All-Star Weekend and kind of the more, I guess, boring stuff if you're not into the, makings of what it takes to agree upon a CBA and what that will look like. But obviously, to your point, Kevin, a lot of this new energy, this new life comes from the one we see with the biggest poster, sticker, whatever you want to call it, on the side of the J.W. Marriott and Caitlin Clark and the attention she's brought to the league. And so you have to strike while the iron is hot, and they will be fools to settle for anything that they don't think that they're worth. Because if you feel like you need to push for bigger contracts, more guaranteed contracts, bigger rosters, whatever the case may be, a lot of that stuff needs to be done now to, sort of set yourself up for future endeavors when it comes to the WNBA.
Okay, speaking of posters, we saw one created yesterday by one John Furphy. Him going behind his back was another thing I forgot about it. Like, he's dribbling through traffic, goes behind his back before he absolutely baptizes, what was his name? Noah Essengay from the Bulls there. All right, I'm doing this on paper
that would
right
happen to a Bull, by the way.
I don't know. Well, anything for the Bulls to actually create a highlight.
What a ridiculous thing, but continue.
Be on a highlight. Okay, starting lineup for next season for the Pacers. Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, insert a center. Right?
Right.
Let's call it Isaiah Jackson, just for the sake of the exercise.
Yep, okay.
Okay, your backups. TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin. You need another center. We'll call it Jay Huff. Jarris Walker.
Yeah.
Ben Shepherd. Is that your 10? McConnell, Shepherd, Walker, Toppin, Huff. Where's Furphy? Where does he get it? Where does he find minutes in year 2? Obviously, you have some injuries that will inevitably happen. He'll get minutes. But, if you look at that 10-man grouping there, he's what, a 3? I guess, is he
ideally.
Is he taking minutes from Shepherd? We know what Rick Carlisle thinks of Shepherd. Where do you kind of see him?
Is he taking minutes from Walker?
Oh, boy. I would like to think Walker's taking a big jump into being kind of the lead guy in that second unit. I know I'm asking a lot out of Walker we've yet to see.
Yeah, that's why I threw it out there. I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
But this is the year to sort of experiment. I need to, I don't want to fast forward through my life, but I do need to see a few games. I need to see how they approach the season in regard to development versus trying to win now and what that balance looks like. Because it is a fine line, and it's a, tough needle to thread to look at Pascal Siakam, for example, and say, here's what we're going to do to, get better long term, when he's like, well, I don't have a long term. I'm trying to win right now. So what does that look like? I think that'll better inform us for how the roster kind of shakes out. But Johnny Furphy, I mean, ideally, you'd want him to push you to have to make those decisions, Kevin.
Well, I mean, outside of what? Siakam and McConnell? I mean, it's not like you have anybody that's older on the roster. I think whether you're trying to win or you're trying to commit to the future, you're playing pretty much the same guys, right? I mean, I guess you would be playing, more of Walker, more of Furphy, if you want to play out that exercise. But I don't know. I don't see as much of like this is your tank lineup, this is your win now lineup. I'm like, wait, it's kind of the same lineup.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I guess it's just going to be interesting to see where or how Furphy gets minutes, because I think there's legit. And I'm not just going off of one highlight yesterday. I think there was some legit interest of like when he got into games last season, it was kind of like, oh man, look at Johnny Furphy scrapping and hustling and making a play. Well, if you're going to earn the 9th role in a Rick Carlisle rotation, that's what he turns to a lot. I mean, Ben Shepherd is probably the poster child of that.
Yeah.
And if the jump shot starts to come around even more for Furphy, I don't know where the minutes look on paper of that exercise I just did, but he certainly is going to, I think, at least create conversation within that coaching staff.
Yeah, he should probably just walk into the locker room with like an iPad and play that dunk over and over again. Like, play me. I'll give you more of this.
This still shot of the Bulls dude who got dunked on with his eyes, are those the same eyes that Pascal Siakam had before Game 6?
I don't know, but bottom line is Noah Essengay, that you will never live that down.
No.
Obviously, he's going to have a fine NBA career. I'm sure make a lot of money and hopefully, have a long pro career. But man, that will follow you until the end of time. Because especially if you're like your best friends, imagine that happening to you and what your best friends would do. Like, if I ever saw you guys get posterized like that, immediately that would be your contact photo in my phone. And so every time I saw you or called you, I would be reminded of it and laugh. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, not like it's going to ruin his career, but man, that is quite the poster. I mean, did you see the ESPN anchors last night who were just dying laughing? They couldn't even get through their segment because they were like literally crying laughing over how ridiculous Noah looked in the picture. Just absurd.
I mean, I'd be chartering a flight back to France if I was him. I'd be like Jeff. I'd be flying across the country. Like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, Tour de France is a family function that we gather for each year. Mark here in the YouTube chat's asking about my mosquito bites. Guys, I haven't itched this much in my life. I've got one on the middle bottom of my left foot.
When he started with a B word and said, B-A word, I was like, where are you going with that? Bye. I was like, okay, bottom, okay. Thought you were going down under for a second, but no, you don't have
like
mosquito
Tyrone
right
Bigum's over there.
Yeah,
how do you guys attack mosquito bites? Do you go with like you get your fingernail really in there and you make like an X? Does that neutralize?
Aren't you supposed to get some like
the mosquito bites?
What is it, like Bengay or something?
Yeah.
Was that the stuff that's supposed to calm it down? Calamine lotion?
You thug it out, Kevin.
Yeah.
Gosh, I just got so many of them, man.
You use your
And I
mental
can't
power
stop
to say,
itching.
I know I'm itching, but I'm not going to scratch. Be a man.
Is off not good enough for you? You can't spray yourself down beforehand?
Do the Colts have the itch to turn to Daniel Jones here this coming season?
What a
His
pivot.
Former teammate has some comments on him. We'll chat about that. 9 o'clock hour upcoming. This is the Fan Morning Show.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A 9 o'clock hour here on a Tuesday. It'll be, again, us three for the next 2 weeks. That would be myself, Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, and Mark Dykton. Yesterday, we had somebody ask, without the boss, Jeff Rickard, in studio, if Mark Dykton was playing substitute teacher role. Mark, some misbehaving out of you?
What do you mean?
Was
I misbehaving?
I believe listener Tim chimed in and thought you were a little bit crossing the line yesterday with some of your comments.
What possibly could I have said that would have crossed the line? I would need more detail than that.
Just relaying the info.
I feel like Mark would be the substitute teacher who rolls in the big TV on the cart and just lets us do whatever.
I would kick my feet up, say, lay your heads down or watch Stand By Me. I don't care what you do. Just leave me alone.
Gosh, the roll the card in. I mean, those days have got to be long gone, right?
We're going to marathon this Bill Nye VHS tape, so learn something or
I've seen a couple of like nostalgic tweets where they were talking about Blockbuster and how like the feeling of Friday night, parents get off work.
Oh, for sure.
And they take you to Blockbuster.
There was a
like
Wendy's right by the Blockbuster that I would go to, and my parents would let me get Wendy's and then go into Blockbuster and search for something. I
understand why we have graduated to streaming, but man, kids will not experience the joy of getting the movie, getting the Wendy's, getting the candy, whatever. Oh, that was living.
Well, you know what else? They won't experience the loss of not having that rental in stock.
Oh,
you reach behind the box and you're like, wait, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't see Indiana Jones 3 here. What are we doing here?
Beyond excruciating.
Yeah, that was
on
tough.
that end. Barry Odom, Purdue head football coach, going to join us coming up Friday. We are definitely getting closer to college football season. SEC Media Days. I want to say the Big Ten Media Days are out in Vegas coming up next week.
Which is so that just speaks to how much has changed in the Big Ten.
Which I think Vegas is one of the more prominent cities trying to get the indie events. Obviously you have the Big Ten appeal to this one because Big Ten Media Days last year, right? Was that Lucas Oil? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe so.
I think Vegas is one that's trying to try and, hey, wait a minute, why is Indianapolis getting all these events? Why can't we host some of them? So just something to keep.
So we got some beef.
We got some beef with the city of sin there. We hope, or the Colts hope, I should say, that their quarterbacks don't commit a lot of sins here and just a horrific transition into the Colts in that position battle. Again, a week from today, report day. A week from tomorrow, first practice. And Daniel Jones and that resurrection project, James, you had him number 2 on your list we did earlier in the show of Colts that have the most pressure on them this season. Let's play this Tyrone Tracy Jr. audio. Again, we played the interview earlier. Tyrone Tracy Jr., first off, just a great story about him. And, as we were thinking about the interview, it's like, oh, wait, you can kind of tie in a Colts connection with him in that, he was Daniel Jones' teammate, not for very long, but he was Daniel Jones' teammate this past season with the Giants. And just to kind of re-up everybody on that story, Jones was the starter to begin last season for the Giants. And then when that did not go well, he had some huge injury incentives in his contract that the Giants basically said, all right, enough is enough, kind of a la a little bit what the Colts did with Matt Ryan back in that 2022 season. Jones leaves the Giants, goes to the Vikings, and now in free agency, he becomes an Indianapolis Colt. Here was Tyrone Tracy Jr. on Daniel Jones and what happened in New York and where he's at this point of his career.
Yeah, I actually think that he's a great guy, but he's also a great quarterback. I think that he just needs people. He just needs people, and he needs that the coaching staff behind him that's going to believe in him and put that kind of trust in him, because he's done it before. He's produced before, but like I said, I think that he needs the coaching staff and the teammates, the front office. Like, he needs all that, to be behind him and letting him know that everything's gonna be all right. But I think that towards his end of his little time at New York, the trust wasn't there. I don't think the confidence was there. But I think he has all the capability in the world to take a team over and, lead them to wins.
James, what'd you make? Tyrone Tracy Jr., obviously a teammate of Daniel Jones for last season. What'd you make of those comments?
I was a bit surprised that he went that far on the coaching staff and saying that he needs guys to believe in him in that aspect. And I thought, you know what? That kind of echoes what we've heard, or at least I'll speak for myself, Kevin, what I've heard internally from the team, their belief is that, the structure we'll provide this player in Indianapolis looks a lot different than what he's provided in New York. And from a talent standpoint, it's no question. The offensive line is much better. The skill position players outside of Malik Neighbors are much better. And I would think that those two things make them believe that they can get something out of Daniel Jones that he just wasn't able to tap into a lot in New York. He only had really that one good season. I'll even call it a great season. When they got to the playoffs, won a playoff game. But outside of that, man, there was a lot of struggles that he had personally. I think that he's certainly a flawed player, but perhaps his flaws were kind of, really exaggerated because of the chaos kind of around him.
I think if you played that clip inside of Colts headquarters, the important decision makers would nod their head. And they would say, yes. Dysfunction there, lack of dysfunction here. Now, again, the Colts got to prove a little bit of their lack of dysfunction.
Yeah.
Because they have not, I don't want to act like they're at New York Giants level, but hell, they're not that much above it. But I get why the Colts have this thinking here. If you go back to when Daniel Jones was drafted, it's kind of wild to think about it. He was a 6th overall pick.
Yeah.
And he was drafted with Pat Shurmur as their head coach and Dave Gettleman as their GM. I mean, in Giants eras, that seems like eons ago.
It does.
I mean, they had Joe Judge, now Brian Dable. Brian Dable right now, if you look at any ranking of the first coach to be fired this season, he's atop that list. Like, it's, when we talk about regimes being tied at the hip to their quarterbacks, Daniel Jones went through a lot of iterations of that. But, I guess to put it kind of in simplest summer water terms, I think what the Colts like about Daniel Jones is they think if he dropped in the middle of the lake, he can stay afloat. Whereas the quarterback play last season, and particularly with Anthony Richardson, if he's dropped in the middle of the lake, you have questions if he's going to get back to shore or not. That's how I think they view it as like right now, if we can just get someone that stays above water, we feel like there is enough around him to possibly compete for a playoff spot.
That is one of the things that we talked about throughout last season, Kevin, was when Anthony Richardson struggled, it sort of snowballed. I go back to the tap-out game, and I know that is what everyone remembers from that matchup with the Texans, but even before that, it was just like one throw after another. He couldn't find his footing at all, and it's hard for me to picture Daniel Jones having that many like poor throws or bad decisions over and over and over again in a row. Now, I don't want to act like Daniel Jones is a very good quarterback because he certainly had his struggles in New York, and that can't all be on the other players around him. And like I said, he is flawed. But from a consistency standpoint, sink or swim, yes, I would expect him to be able to doggy paddle a little bit better than Anthony Richardson. And if that is the case, Kevin, that is why I think it's crucial that Anthony has to get these reps, during the training camp. He can't come back and still be, I would imagine they might want to ease him back into things, but we can't have any more conversations about, he's going to take a rest day or the shoulder's flaring up or he doesn't feel that great today. Like, that can't be a conversation, because if we are having that conversation, it's over for him.
Yeah, and I guess I would have a question, too, of when does this competition get real again? Thank you, Stephen, very much for that.
I just want to say real quick, Stephen is the best-dressed human being on planet Earth.
Yes.
So, just want to throw that out there.
Stephen, who, if you come to our building, he will greet you in a very pleasant manner.
Yes.
When you walk in here, delivered some cluster truck.
Yes.
Thank you to that.
And he has a bow tie on every day.
He looks outstanding. He probably looks at my wardrobe of my 1982 Notre Dame baseball jersey that has 7 holes
well,
in
it. Well, it has buttons on it, so you might be having a leg up on me and Mark today with our T-shirts.
If anything, he's like, what are all those mosquito bites on that guy?
Not all the buttons. You see how this one is off, and, unfortunately.
I did kind of wonder for a while. I didn't ask any questions. Is there just not a button on there? Going a little risque this morning? Or
There are pictures of Ryan Bowen, my older brother, by 5.5 years, wearing this at like the age of 13. So it's seen some days.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it has seen some days. But Cluster Truck fan promo code. Make sure to check that out. Thank you very much to Evan Sherrill and the great folks at Cluster Truck for dropping some food off. But I think one thing to keep in mind too, when training camp gets underway, James, again, report day a week from today, first practice a week from tomorrow. I assume that if Anthony Richardson is healthy, it will still be somewhat of a competition. But
yes,
I say the word assume for a reason. Like, deep down with Shane Steichen, did he look at Daniel Jones' 7 straight days of running the starting offense in the spring and think to himself, wait a minute, I kind of like what I saw. What if I commit to more reps for him in training camp? Because I had this issue back in March. When we first got into this debate, James, of, hey, the Colts have signed Daniel Jones, I said to you on these very airwaves, my problem is this. You have got 2 inconsistent quarterbacks in a competition. That means at the end of this, I'm going to guess that neither inconsistent quarterback gets very better because you won't get enough reps to consistently get better.
right?
You got to commit to one. And I know neither of them deserves probably the full commitment, but if you're mediocre now and you're going to get 50% of the reps and I'm going to get 50% of the reps, we're probably going to be mediocre when it's all said and done. So now, the fact that Jones has gotten the majority of it, does that have Shane Steichen pausing at all in saying, you know what, boy, I'm glad Anthony's back, but is there any indecision? Or is it still going to be outright? No, 50-50. When Anthony Richardson is back in full go.
Do you like summertime weddings?
No, I don't. That's a great question. No, I don't. We got married in mid-February, so obviously I'm biased there. But I looked forward to the random time of the year where I feel like summer's busy. And so I did not look forward to summertime weddings. I think my wife and I had to split up too, like multiple times of like her best friend was getting married, one of my best friends getting married, like, and I hated that too.
Yeah.
So no, give me winter, give me spring, give me fall.
The reason I ask that is because you would love to have already popped the question, got on one knee, said your vows, and walked down the aisle back in February. Now you got to figure out, the question is for Shane Steichen, when do I pop the question? When do I get on one knee and say, you know what, you're my guy. You're my starting quarterback. And so as much as you talk about commitment, Kevin, I think the question is, when do you commit? Like, in my mind, and it can feel like this at times because training camp, it can be long and hot some days. Like, man, this is training camp. How many days are we in and how many days we got left? But it's not that long before the season starts. It really isn't.
Their first preseason game is 3 weeks from Thursday.
Right. So when do you want to start pivoting to, this is my guy, and we got to get ready for week 1 and the season with this dude? Because this isn't a movie. This isn't like high school where everyone's going to get equal reps and everyone's going to play and get, some letter on their jacket. Shane Steichen could be coaching for his tenure with this team upcoming this season. So I don't see him necessarily having the liberty or really the length of time to really have this flesh out over weeks and weeks and weeks. So I would think by the preseason opener, you want to have a good idea of who your guy is. And coming out of that preseason opener, at least by the second game in the preseason, you definitely want to know who your dude is and when do you start to make the commitment and when can you make that public, because we're all going to see the reps anyways. There's no more hiding, now versus in the spring where we don't really see what goes on day to day. In camp, we see everything. There is no hiding. So if something changes rep-wise, we'll see it.
And I will stress this as we get closer to the first preseason game. They need to play in the preseason games. They need to play a lot. I don't want to have any of this.
Question to
hey, you got a joint practice with the Ravens. You're not going to play in the preseason
I was going to
game.
ask
Hey, you got a joint practice with the Packers. No, none of that. I know that's how teams, and particularly the Colts, have operated in years past. No. Anthony Richardson had a fine training camp last year. You were there, James.
Yes, and that's the thing that drives me nuts about the conversation around him. People are like, "Oh, how come you didn't see this coming, Kevin? How could you, not, predict this?" And it's like when we were out there, Anthony looked
Matt
like
Ryan had a fine training camp.
Yeah, like he didn't look horrible. It wasn't like he was throwing the ball. Like Anthony Richardson did not look as erratic in training camp last year as he looked throughout the season. Now, part of that could be obviously it's not real football, but
he's also going up against Colts defense, which it's not exactly a stalwart unit.
Yeah,
I would say,
considering how things went with that unit the last few years. But yeah, that's why, to your point, Kevin, the preseason games I'm going to be glued in a lot more. And as much as you want to see Jason Bean and I was going to say Sam Ehlinger, who's now I believe in Denver, as much as you want to see Riley Leonard, in that case, you want to see the main two guys and what they look like against real competition, even if it is preseason competition when everything's vanilla. How poised do you look? Do you turn the ball over? Are you consistent? Just anything you can glean from this preseason opportunities you get, you need to be able to evaluate that if you're the Colts front office and you're the Colts coaching staff, because you cannot go into the year unsure of who your guy's going to be.
I think this is so pathetic by IU football. Mark, will you share what you just retweeted? And I get this is a little bit of where college football is at nowadays, but it's such a joke that this is what IU football has done to their schedule.
Yeah, so Brett McMurphy, who's pretty plugged in on all things college football and college sports in general, says Indiana cancels home series with Virginia in 2027, 2028, and must pay Cavs $500,000 for canceling the series. Instead, Indiana will add home games with Kennesaw State in 2027, Austin Peay in 2028, and Eastern Illinois in 2029.
Running from the smoke?
Sure,
it's
seems
just
like it.
such a joke. Do you, Mark?
They're scared of the Pat McAfees.
Will you read
Oh,
off?
it's Virginia. I'm sorry, not West Virginia, but still, that's a tough one.
Mark, please read off IU's non-conference schedule for this football season.
Sure, let me pull that up real quick.
I mean, it is unbelievable, and I get it. When you're in the Big Ten or you're in the SEC, you probably don't need a schedule. But you know what? Like Arkansas, for example, they're scheduling Notre Dame this year in their non-conference. You've seen what is it? Georgia, Clemson. They've done that.
Yep.
LSU played USC last year. You're finding still Big Ten and SEC teams willing to go in their non-conference. And again, I'm not asking you to schedule Alabama.
Yeah.
But like a Virginia or a Louisville of somewhat substance.
Yeah.
You ready for this? Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and the Sycamores of Indiana State.
I mean, what the hell are we doing?
We got to get 6 wins. What do you mean?
Read that again.
Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State.
I'll tell you what, those Sycamores, man.
I mean,
Roll
it's
trees.
just so pathetic.
That's a really weak. And so we'll get more into this, I'm sure, when college football season starts up, but that creates a narrative that if you do have a quote unquote good season or you stack a bunch of wins, are you deserving of the college football playoff berth or deserving of a certain bowl game? And I don't want to hear any whining if you don't get that because you didn't really set yourself up to, I guess, have the best resume, if that makes sense.
I also don't want to hear any complaining from the IU hive that say, well, everybody says we haven't played anybody. Because you don't. Look at your non-conference schedules.
Well, and again, Curtis says every program does this now. And I get that there are more programs that are starting to do this. But it's not true. Purdue's got Notre Dame on their schedule this year. Ohio State opens with Texas. I just mentioned Arkansas is playing Notre Dame. Georgia's playing Clemson. You are still getting Big Ten and SEC schools that are still offering some sort of resistance on their non-conference schedule. I'm not acting like Indiana needs to go out there and find Texas or find Alabama. But Virginia and Louisville? That is why the debate last year deserved to be had. When you literally take Louisville off your schedule like they did, and whoever the hell they ended up putting on at Idaho, you bring that discussion to the table. You can't just be solely reliant on your Big Ten schedule.
Well, this is where I have some pushback for it, though, because we've seen some of the bigger marquee programs do some of the same stuff. Like Alabama plays Louisiana Monroe every year.
Well, they also play Alabama.
They got Eastern
also play
Illinois.
Florida State and Wisconsin. Let's not ignore it. I'm fine with having a couple, but they also have Florida State and Wisconsin. But let's be honest here. IU football fans, the non-conference is a bleeping joke. We all can agree on that.
But the reason why I think you do this is because of the expanded playoff. And you want to make sure that your resume looks good. You're not fighting for the respect of, we're always going to have the, I'm going to say we, but there's always going to be the SEC bias where it's like you play these people every year no matter what. So your resume is going to be boosted by that in theory. However, if you're like a fringe college football playoff team, you might not want to play the bigger teams. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying I understand it if you're, not the 5th team in the playoff, but you're the 11th or 12th. That's my only, and I can see why they do it. I don't love it, but I also understand the process.
I just think for And Ohio State, it might not be the best example. So, like, I just thought of two Big Ten teams here. Michigan State. They've got Boston College in their non-conference schedule. Fine. Wisconsin. That's a like-minded team right now. Alabama in their non-conference schedule. I mean, those are programs that are seemingly in a little bit of a more of a general vicinity than Indiana, not just Ohio State and Michigan, because I get some of these schedules, get decided on years out. I mean, a Boston College, it's a fine non-conference opponent.
You're not about to ruin my season, Kevin, by having me play teams that I might actually lose to, okay? Bump that. I'm about to build my resume with some soft opponents and then complain if I don't get into the playoff because of it. I mean, that's the approach in my eyes. That's the angle that I'm viewing this through. Do I hate it? Probably, but like
all
I
these
understand
IU football fans trying to defend their schedule, it could not be more.
Yeah, no,
wrong.
it's nasty. It is. You really can't defend it without just openly admitting that we want to have a weaker schedule. That way, we don't have any losses, and then we can argue that overall strength of schedule and record-wise, we're looking pretty good.
I feel like you got away with that last year. Where okay, Kurt Cignetti's like fine.
I would agree on that. Now moving forward,
right?
No.
Now if you want to be taken seriously as like,
and it's Virginia. I'm
Right.
not asking you to
That
go
is
play
true.
Clemson or go play Georgia. It is Virginia. And honestly, if you're going to be a playoff team, a win over Virginia, at least you're saying to, let's say you're comparing Indiana's resume side by side to 11-1 Miami or somebody from the ACC. You're saying, hey, we came to your conference and we played somebody. Because these discussions, guys, if Indiana's in it again, we're going to have these again come late November and early December. And I get why because you choose your non-conference. You don't choose your conference schedule. Your conference schedule, you're at the mercy. Because last year, remember, people punished Indiana for their Big Ten schedule. And I thought that was wrong because you don't decide your Big Ten schedule. It just happened to be that Michigan had kind of a down year for Indiana's sake. But your non-conference schedule, you choose that.
We have Hoosier97 in the chat, who is obviously unbiased here. He says that Notre Dame fan with no conference is laughable to even be talking. So take that, Kevin Bowen.
Not even compare Notre Dame's schedule of Miami, Texas A&M, Boise State, and Arkansas.
Northern Illinois.
All in the first month of the season.
Oh, don't rhyme them with Northern Illinois. That's a 4-letter word in the Bowen household.
Look, Georgia and Alabama, they have some of these opponents. You just mentioned, James.
Yeah.
Louisiana, Monroe. They also have Florida State and Wisconsin. I'm fine with a cupcake or two. Three of them?
Three. A little greedy.
You look like Kevin Bowen's waistline exiting
Fair enough.
vacation. Mark Dykton, a very quick morning check now.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I do love the bison, by the way, coming back. It needs to be a real live bison. Did you see this? We might need to hit on this on the other side. Indiana's got the bison mascot coming back, but I need it to be live, and I need it to live in the varsity villas. That's what I need.
You need the Bison to face real opponents.
Yes, yes. Amen to that. Bison against Bevo for Texas. James Boyd, what do we got tonight fever-wise? Nobody's on the injury report, and the Suns stink, and hopefully no fights.
Yes, and you want to see, I'm going to say Stephanie White, but you want to see Caitlin Clark shoot the ball a lot better than she has in recent games.
14 of 41 or something since she has come back. So that is 8 o'clock ESPN tonight, 15.5-point favorite. Again, the Sun and the Fever got into it a few weeks back. Marina Mabry, a big instigator in that. She is out with a knee injury. Pacers Summer League, they lose the Bulls. Who cares? Because Johnny Furphy was, what are we going with? John the Baptist?
I like that one a lot.
The dunk from down under? What are we officially calling it?
I'm calling him John the Baptist because he really did bless that young man. He might not see it now. Talk about this in the Bible and in church. You might go through some adversity, but God will help you through it.
Well, if you're
Lord have
looking at
mercy.
Noah Essengay's face, too, it looks like Johnny Furphy's yelling, "The power of Christ compels you." He's getting the devil out of him.
Pacers got one more Summer League game coming up on Thursday, and it was the big dumper. Cal Raleigh advanced out of the quarterfinals. I was really hoping they'd go in a hit-off there and not have to get out the tape measure, but nonetheless, he advanced out of the first round by 1 inch, ended up winning the home run derby. Second Mariner, Ken Griffey Jr., first catcher ever to win the home run derby. I thought pretty cool. Dad pitching to him, little brother catching, hitting from both sides of the plates. Cal Raleigh gets his moment last night, 8 o'clock for the All-Star game tonight. All right, on the other side, maybe we'll have more of this conversation. And the Bison is coming back to Bloomington. This is the Fan Morning Show and a little Jaguars talk as well, like real Jaguars, like the actual football team. We'll do that here. Fan Morning Show next.
It's time for an AFC South refresher.
It's fresh.
Nothing wrong with a little reminder, is there?
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
In the summertime when the weather is high, you can stretch right up and touch the sky.
Great job there, Mark, on the re-entry. I have to give you your props there, my friend. And we will continue our AFC South sort of journey with John Shipley, who covers the Jaguars for Sports Illustrated and SI. And John, thanks for coming on the show. First things first, I'll start off, how are you feeling going into the year just with everything that's kind of transpired? Because I feel like as much as we talked about the changes here in Indianapolis, been a lot of changes down there in Florida as well. So what do you make of the new coach, getting Travis Hunter? Trevor Lawrence is healthy. I guess where do you want to start? Well, personally, I'll start with Trevor Lawrence. Where's he at in the whole process of, this resurgence they would hope to have down there in Jacksonville? John, are you there?
It kind of sounds like the other Colts visits to Jacksonville, right?
We gotta. I know. It's like my first trip going down there actually to cover a game. They were 24-0 Jaguars. So, all right, John, you got us?
Yeah. So, I mean, this offseason, to say it was a whiplash would be the understatement, really, of the year, especially those couple of weeks in January. There was that, 48-hour period where Liam Cohen dropped out of the race for the head coach, and then Trent Baalke steps away a few hours later, and then Liam Cohen kind of, goes undercover to make his way back to Jacksonville for his in-person interview. It was the most eventful and I'd say craziest offseason I've covered in 6 years here in Jacksonville. And this is my third different head coaching change I've covered. So I think that says something. Even the Urban Meyer, debacle wasn't quite as eventful as this past offseason was. So it was definitely a big offseason. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's, to me, the entire reason really that Liam Cohen was hired. I think the Jaguars, when they entered their search for a new head coach, they weren't just looking for, the best, overall guy who can lead a team, et cetera. They were looking for the best head coach who, to me, can get the best out of Trevor Lawrence. That's really been the thing that's held the Jaguars back the last 2 years, whether it's inconsistencies or injuries. Lawrence just hasn't been at his best over the last two seasons. And, to a little surprise, the Jaguars haven't been at their best right along there with him. So it's clear that where he goes, the franchise goes, and I think that's the biggest reason why Liam Cohen was added to the mix in general. And, by all, things that everybody's saying publicly and that you see on the practice field, he's adapting pretty well to Liam Cohen's scheme, which is a lot different than the Doug Peterson scheme we've seen the last few years here in Jacksonville. But as always with Lawrence, it's going to come down to the regular season to see if he can actually perform.
To piggyback off that, John, you talked about Liam Cohen coming in there and, changing some things around offensively, but one player who will certainly change things for that franchise offensively and potentially defensively as well is Travis Hunter. So what have been your first impressions of him and his impact on the team so far?
Yeah, no, he's been a fascinating guy to watch. His last mini camp practice he had of the offseason, we see him start off with the offense, go through about half the, practice, and then comes out, they throw him a new practice jersey, and he moves over to the cornerback for the rest of the day. That's definitely something I've never seen, and, it's crazy to even talk about it theoretically, the potential of Travis Hunter being a two-way guy. But when you actually see it play out in person and see how so quickly he can go from having a, impactful day of practice for Trevor Lawrence and helping him in the offense out too, on the very same day, even the next period in practice, going over to the defensive side and making an impact as a cornerback. It's really been something to watch, and that's just in practice. But he'll obviously have to prove that he can do it over a 17-game, long season, as opposed to just mini camp practices with no contact, anything like that. It's definitely going to be a big task. You can already see that coming out of Colorado. He's obviously very, very talented, very athletic, but, playing two ways at the college level, there are still some technical things that he needs to refine, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So it seems like that was the biggest reason that he prioritized offense during the offseason. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case during the regular season, but it does seem like they know that for as talented as he is, he does have some room to make up developmental-wise on the offensive side of the ball, and that seems like their big focus right now.
John Shipley covering the Jags. He's with us here on the Payless Slickers hotline. John, it is absolutely amazing. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. Is there any sign of that gets brought up on a routine basis on the flip side of it in Jacksonville? Because we bring it up probably way too much.
100%. 100%. Especially for the veterans who have been around Jacksonville for a couple years, it's very clear to them that I wouldn't say they circled the game, but I think they believe the Colts circled the game, if that makes sense. Like, they know how important it is to the Colts and how much of a talking point it is in Indianapolis and within that franchise, that for whatever reason, even when the Jaguars are having a downright terrible season, like last year when the Colts came and visited them, I believe they were the NFL's only winless team at that point. They just seem to be the cure for whatever's ailing the Jaguars at home. It doesn't necessarily work on the flip side, and the Indianapolis has had plenty of success against them at Lucas Oil, but for whatever reason, Jacksonville has found their success against the Colts at home, and it's definitely something that the locker room recognizes. Like, I don't think they make it a big deal, but I do think they believe that the Colts see it as a big deal, which I think kind of says it all after the last, several years of the losses kind of stacking up in Jacksonville.
So, John, I'm looking through some of your recent work, and I did this last night as well. You had the chance to talk to Jaguars legend Jimmy Smith, and we all know what he did down there for that franchise, about Brian Thomas Jr., who I loved in the draft. I thought the Colts, should take a swing on him, or he was someone I wanted them to at least explore, and we saw why last year because he went off against the Colts. So how do you see him take another step this upcoming season? Because I think on our side, it's in Indianapolis, the thought is that Travarius Ward is going to take that assignment going forward because Brian Thomas Jr. is a budding star.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Ron Miles, who was with the Colts last year, coaching their secondary, he's the Jaguars defensive backs coach now. And one of the first things he said when he spoke at the end of the offseason was that he was like, yeah, I know how good Brian Thomas is. I saw what he did to us last year, in this stadium. It's Brian Thomas, to me, last year was somebody who it seemed like the light came on for him some way halfway through training camp, and then he just got better every day, was making these amazing plays. The fascinating thing to me with him was he wasn't really seen as the focal point of the offense until the later half of his rookie year. And it wasn't because they weren't ready to put the load on him or anything, but, Jacksonville staff, Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, et cetera, they really leaned on veterans over rookies, and that became kind of a clashing point with the front office in Jacksonville. And you could tell at the start of the year, they were ready to lean on Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis, but once all those guys got hurt, they all ended the year in IR. They kind of felt like they had to turn to Brian Thomas, and ended up being the best thing possible because he showed the kind of traits that he has. He's much more than just a deep threat. You talk to guys on the defense who cover him in practice, and they say he has some of the best releases and, in-breaking routes that they've seen, especially for a guy his size. I think the sky's the limit for him because I think as opposed to last year when they figured out, late in the season that, wow, this guy's a dynamic number one that few defenses can match up with. I think they're going into this season, even with the addition of Travis Hunter, saying, this is our guy. This is the guy who the passing offense will undoubtedly flow through. And I think as a result, more opportunities, et cetera, he's going to make the most of them.
So one very unserious follow-up, but did you all have to card James Gladstone, the Jaguars GM, before you let him into the building, before you interviewed him? Did you have to, sign any waiver forms to make sure that you can interview a kid? Because he looks very, very young. And obviously, in a more serious note, he has a lot of pressure, I guess, on him to deliver. So what have been your impressions of him and his vision for this team that would like to gain some ground, obviously, in the AFC South, which we always say up here is wide open, with a couple of, misses from Houston in a couple of games?
Yeah, it's honestly the whiplash of going from Trent Baalke to James Gladstone has been absolutely astronomical. I've covered Trent the last couple of years, and I think, the NFL world as a whole knows kind of how Trent's relationships with media can be. And, he was just a guy who it didn't seem like, he wanted to really be public about his moves, motives, et cetera. And he was really kind of an old school scout in his thinking, et cetera. And now you go to a guy in James Gladstone who is, really making testimonials each time he's on the podium, about the moves that he's making and why he believes they can change the team, city, et cetera. It's really been a 180. And in a lot of ways, it's something the Jaguars, they've never really done. They've never gone all in on the young, forward-thinking kind of leadership group that you see some of these other teams doing. Los Angeles specifically, pairing the young, forward-thinking head coach, same with the general manager, the guys who are aggressive, guys who really aren't playing kind of by the old rule book. It's something you haven't seen in Jacksonville. I mean, I've covered Tom Coughlin, I've covered Trent Baalke in key leadership roles. Those are two of the oldest school guys that there are out there. So it's definitely, I think, a much different air in Jacksonville, and you can kind of see how it's kind of filtered throughout the building. There's definitely a sense, in my opinion, the last couple of years that, the Jaguars leadership group, it was so kind of old school in their thinking that, it's kind of struggling to meet and adapt to the newer generation of NFL athletes and just how some guys are wired. And I think you're starting to see that those fences kind of be mended now with a new group.
The one game Colts fans can't wait for, Sunday, December 7th in Jacksonville. They will try to get off the schneid, a decade-long drought there in Northeast Florida. John, thank you so much, man. We appreciate the insight. Enjoy training, or I should say enjoy the final few days of vacation before training camp starts.
Hey, I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
John Shipley right there covers the Jags for SI on the Payless Liquors hotline. I've gone through some Big Ten schedules. I have some thoughts. It's a joke. Indiana fans just have to admit that. The non-conference schedule is an utter joke.
I ain't got to admit nothing.
We'll share it on the other side.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, thank you again to Tyrone Tracy Jr. Really enjoyed chatting with him. That'll be on the podcast. First off, just a great story, and I think pretty inspiring too. You know, a lot of local kids. I didn't realize how close he was to quitting football, even just a couple years ago, and then had a great rookie season this past year for the New York Giants. So that will be up on the podcast. I've been fired up here in the 9 o'clock hour about the announcement, Indiana with their non-conference football schedule. Mark, will you fill our audience in if they missed it from our show account, the announcement this morning?
Right. So Brett McMurphy, who's always locked in on the college football scene, said Indiana cancels home-and-home series with Virginia in 2027-2028 and must pay the Cavaliers $500,000 for canceling the series. Instead, the Hoosiers have added home games with Kennesaw State in 2027, Austin Peay in 2028, and Eastern Illinois in 2029. Some true heavy hitters right there.
So instead of $500,000 going to try and help out our football program, we're going to go to duck the Virginia Cavaliers, the Fighting Rick Carlisles. Abby Carlisle leading them out of the tunnel.
Hey, man, I don't want that loss on my schedule.
It's an absolute joke. Indiana's non-conference schedule in football this year is Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. Who's the best out of those three programs?
I'm going to go Kennesaw State, and I have no idea how.
Do you know where Kennesaw
programs...
State is?
No, I do not. That's why I chose them.
Downtown Atlanta, the Owls.
I was going to say, I've been to the Whataburger that's by Kennesaw State.
The Owls there. Okay, so I just did a simple exercise. I went through the Big Ten teams that Indiana plays.
Okay.
And I said, what is their hardest non-conference game? These are the teams. Alabama, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Boston College, Duke, Nevada, Florida Atlantic, Utah, and Notre Dame.
That Notre Dame game was really weak for the schedule.
So if we want to live in the Big Ten world, because I keep on hearing from IU fans, well, you know, Big Ten teams, we play 9 conference games, so we don't need to schedule that. Well, 90% of your conference is offering some notability on your non-conference schedule versus Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. And I'm with Mark, too. Isn't this supposed to be new Indiana football?
Yeah, but like we're new-ish. We're not fully new just yet.
You can't be talking all that junk. You're playing Kennesaw State.
Yeah,
that's true.
I could not agree more with that.
I'm trying to argue the other side.
Fritz Ignetti talked a lot, and we saw what happened in the playoff against Notre Dame.
It was a close
game.
game.
For that,
it was a
didn't he?
close game.
With 2 minutes to go in the game, double the amount of punts as they did points. Which
Came on pregame.
It was a
not
close
away
game. I mean, what are we doing here?
I'm not an expert in football, but I would say that's not very good on that.
The night
end.
you were peeing in the woods next to other guys, right?
Yeah. Well, that's when I knew Notre Dame was going to roll. 8 o'clock tonight, Indiana Fever. These airwaves, I guess 7:45,
It's a
right?
10-point game.
James, stop it.
All right, I'm done.
Indiana Fever against Connecticut Sun, 15.5-point favorite. We'll see if Caitlin Clark can get out of her shooting slump. And the All-Star game. I think they should still play for home field. Why else do you watch? Don't you want something on the line here?
Yeah,
No.
you don't want to get apathetic like the NBA. Lord have mercy. Or the NFL and the Pro Bowl games, obviously.
The Major League All-Star game is the one I enjoy the most, though, because the actual stars play. It's actually a fun watch. I actually enjoy that one. Pro Bowl, no thank you. NBA All-Star game, they've cashed their chips. MLB still gets it done.
That's your Tuesday night viewing. Then did I say the ESPYs are Wednesday? Is there a thing that has just fallen off a cliff more than the ESPYs?
Yeah.
I feel like every year I'm reminded of it through social media. Then
Seriously.
I'm actually reminded of it.
Last night they flashed up the graphic during the Home Run Derby.
Yeah, I was like,
how
oh, yeah, that's coming up.
I was reminded of it. Thank you to Tyrone Tracy Jr. Again, that'll be up on the podcast. Again, it is us three the rest of the week and next week as well. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton signing off. Everybody have a great Tuesday.